Chapter 204. Hearing Lin Zhen's words, Su Mingyue, who was in Lin Zhen's embrace, raised her small face and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? How can my star-observing mirror be fine when it is broken?" Su Mingyue's star-observing mirror was a high-grade astral tool, and its value far exceeded any treasure Lin Zhen had ever seen. This kind of auxiliary-type high-grade astral tool with special functions was even more valuable than ordinary best-grade astral tools. Even if it was a best-grade armor, its value might not necessarily be comparable to the star-observing mirror, let alone a weapon. It was precisely because of its quality that it contained a powerful star energy, which allowed it to block the fatal blow when the star strike arrived. However, the star-observing mirror was not a real defensive astral tool, which was why it was broken by the star strike. Lin Zhen did not answer Su Mingyue's question, but instead gently stroked her cheeks, all the way to her earlobes. Her ears were crystal clear, giving people a feeling that they were almost transparent. After tucking her black hair behind her ears, Su Mingyue's face was already red, but she still let Lin Zhen hug her. Why did you touch the star strike?" Lin Zhen asked. "I didn't want you to be hurt by that thing." Su Mingyue's answer was very simple, but it pierced straight to the heart. "Fortunately, you had the star-observing mirror, otherwise, you would have done a very stupid thing this time. Did you know that the star-observing mirror could resist the star strike?" Lin Zhen asked again. Su Mingyue shook her head slightly. "I didn't know. If I knew, I would have taken off the star-observing mirror and left it here, because I knew that you would come looking for me." When Lin Zhen heard this, his heart suddenly throbbed with pain, and he could not help but fiercely say, "What nonsense are you talking about? No matter how good the star-observing mirror is, it is only a dead object. How can it be compared to a human? In the future, I won't allow you to care about yourself like this." Hearing this, Su Mingyue's long eyelashes drooped a little, covering her beautiful peach blossom eyes, just like her master's mood at this moment. "I don't know what else can I do? Shall I go back to the church? Even the true gods don't care about believers like us. I don't even know if I should continue to be a saintess. It's good to be able to do something. So what if there are no true gods? You're still alone. You still have a family." Unexpectedly, Su Mingyue shook her head slightly. "I don't have a family. My parents passed away when I was very young. I grew up in a church. Before I turned 18, I didn't know more than 10 people whose names I could name. There were only my master, senior sister, and a few clergymen in the church. After I came to the training camp, Tang Yu talked to me and I saw his name. That's when I remembered him." Lin Zhen opened his mouth, but no words came out. What kind of life was Su Mingyue living? She had been raised as a saintess since she was a child. Every day, she would learn everything that a saintess should do under the guidance of her master and clergy. Then, she would practice martial arts. Apart from the few people in the church, she could not even name anyone else. 18 years old. That meant she only knew so many people after she came to the Divine General Training Camp, including the others in the capital base city. Lin Zhen squeezed out a smile and put his arm around Su Mingyue's shoulder. "No wonder you're smart, but sometimes you act like an idiot. That won't happen from now on. You still have me. No matter what you do in the future, you have to think about protecting yourself first. Okay." Su Mingyue nodded slightly. She gently leaned her head on Lin Zhen's shoulder, but her big eyes blinked as if she was thinking about something. Seeing that Su Mingyue had finally stopped crying, Lin Zhen's heart gradually calmed down. He gently wiped the tears on Su Mingyue's fair and pretty face. Her skin was unbelievably smooth. Even with Lin Zhen's eyesight, he could not see her pores at such a close distance. Su Mingyue felt a little uncomfortable being touched. She raised her small hand and gently grabbed Lin Zhen's fingers. She looked up at him. "Lin Zhen, do you really think I'm stupid?" Lin Zhen smiled and pinched her straight little nose. "You're very stupid." Su Mingyue seemed a little unconvinced. She blinked and looked at Lin Zhen. When I was with you, I asked you to pretend to be my boyfriend. At that time, you even hugged me. Do you know why I did that? Lin Jun thought for a moment. To temporarily avoid being entangled by others. Su Mingyue's big eyes showed a rare hint of unhappiness. No, it's because I really think you're good. Ah. Her simple and straightforward tone hit Lin Jun's heart hard. Let me ask you again. When I touched the star strike, Yu Feng still wanted to touch my hand, but I didn't let him. Do you know why? Su Mingyue continued to ask Lin Jun. Lin Jun thought for a moment. You hate him. Unexpectedly, Su Mingyue shook her head again. I don't just hate him. Other than my senior sister who sometimes holds hands with me, I don't like to be touched by anyone else. Then Lin Jun spoke. Only for you. I'll give them all to you. Su Mingyue was very confident when she said this. Lin Jun understood Su Mingyue's temperament very well. She was never good at joking, and she didn't even know how to lie. Especially at a time like this, there was no need to have a trace of doubt. This was her inner voice. Lin Jun's voice was slightly hoarse. Unexpectedly, Su Mingyue suddenly smiled like 100 flowers blooming. Her beautiful peach blossom eyes narrowed, and dimples appeared on her fair and pretty face. See, you can't even answer my question correctly. So I'm not an idiot. You are. Lin Jun suddenly realized that Su Mingyue didn't like him calling her an idiot. However, no matter how hard she tried to prove it, she was still an idiot. She didn't understand that it was just a nickname. Looking at Su Mingyue secretly laughing at him for being an idiot, Lin Jun felt that she was like a little fox who had stolen a chicken to eat. This appearance was so beautiful that it could even move the heart of a saint. Lin Jun's breathing couldn't help but become heavy. He gently lifted Su Mingyue's little chin. How can you be so beautiful? Su Mingyue blinked her eyes. I don't know. A lot of people say that, but I like to hear you say it. Lin Jun slowly approached, and their breaths sprayed on each other's faces. I want to eat you. Ah! Su Mingyue cried out in alarm. She looked down at her slender arms and looked at Lin Jun with a trace of fear in her eyes. After hesitating for a long time, she said, You must be hungry. When the rain stops, I'll make you something delicious. Lin Jun rolled his eyes. Being too naive wasn't necessarily a good thing. No one had ever said such words to her, and she had never touched on such a topic. She didn't understand what it meant to eat you. Lin Jun didn't want to go too far and blaspheme his girlfriend, who was as pure as a piece of white paper. He could only lower his request. I want to hug you to sleep. Let's find a place. Su Mingyue's face immediately heated up. Although she didn't know a lot of things, she was still a very smart woman. Otherwise, how could she deceive Yu Feng? Lin Jun's gaze made her feel a little dangerous, but she couldn't bear to reject him directly. But the rain is so heavy, there's no place to. Let's go to my nest. I used to sleep there. It's all water there. Su Mingyue finally found a reason to refuse. Lin Jun grabbed the girl by the waist and carried her to the nest. With a pull, the water in the nest was immediately sucked up and thrown into the river. Then, he carried Su Mingyue into the nest. Su Mingyue was stunned. She grabbed Lin Jun's chest. But it's still raining. Swoosh. The liquid metal turned into a thin layer that was almost transparent. It covered the nest like a small house. Su Mingyue looked up and nervously found an excuse. But it's so dark. I'm afraid of the dark. Lin Jun opened his eyes. The power of light flickered in his eyes and the nest lit up. Your eyes are so scary. The light immediately moved to the top of his head. Even this is scary. Under the control of his spiritual power, the power of light floated to the roof of the house like a soft little lamp. Su Mingyue was finally speechless. She blinked her big eyes twice, and then suddenly threw herself into Lin Jun's arms. She wrapped her arms around Lin Jun's neck and twisted her delicate body gently. She said to Lin Jun in a coquettish tone that she had never used before, Lin Jun, don't bully your okay? Will be yours sooner or later, but I really can't do it now. The saintess must be pure. I haven't thought about it yet. Please. On a stormy night, the warm house, the soft light, and the peerless beauty twisting in his arms almost made Lin Jun, who was reborn, unable to control himself. He suppressed the rising fire in his lower abdomen and hugged Su Mingyue to prevent her from moving. Then he said gloomily, "Can't I even kiss and touch you?" Su Mingyue hesitated. She had never encountered such a thing. She was instinctively afraid. After thinking for a while, she didn't answer Lin Jun's question. Instead, she said in a muffled voice, "My clothes are too wet. It's uncomfortable to hug. I want to change. Then I'll go outside. It's raining heavily outside. Don't go." Su Mingyue couldn't bear to see Lin Jun get wet. Lin Jun's eyes suddenly lit up. He sat down and didn't move. Su Mingyue glanced at Lin Jun. "I think you'll peek." "I promise I won't." "I don't believe you." Su Mingyue's resolute and decisive tone directly exposed Lin Jun. "Then what should I do?" "I'll go outside." "You turned off the light." Lin Jun immediately retracted the power of the light. The room darkened. "It still won't work. There's lightning outside. When the lightning lights up, you'll still see it. Use the leaves to cover the house." Lin Jun raised his hand and released a gravitational force. Several huge petals and leaves flew over and covered the house. At this time, Su Mingyue raised her hand. Her hand also emitted a light. This radiant star crystal was a twin. Lin Jun wasn't the only one who knew how to use it. She also knew how to use it. The beauty under the light was breathtakingly beautiful. Su Mingyue's face was hot as she said to Lin Jun, "Lin Jun, as long as you don't look, I'll give you some rewards. If you make even a little bit of light to peek at me changing clothes, I promise I'll ignore you for a very, very long time." Lin Jun immediately nodded. "There won't be any light at all." The light went out and there was no movement for a long time. After a while, Su Mingyue suddenly waved her hand in front of Lin Jun's eyes. Then, she quietly lit up a little bit of light. Seeing that Lin Jun's eyes didn't seem to be focused and were still in a state of darkness, she felt relieved and extinguished the light. No one could see in the dark. She still believed that Lin Jun wouldn't make any light. She felt relieved and began to slowly take off her soaked priest robe. Chapter 205. The room was pitch black and nothing could be seen. The darkness gave Su Mingyue a sense of security. After she took off her divine judge robe, she gently took off her soft bra. Unlike the bra worn by ordinary women, her bra was also made of pure white silk satin, with two intersecting ribbons hanging over her shoulders and in front of her chest. She gently removed it, and a pair of jade peaks that could be called the ultimate dream of every man in the world trembled as they were exposed to the air. At this moment, Su Mingyue vaguely heard a gurgling sound from the other side. It sounded like someone was drinking water. "Lin Jun, what are you doing?" Nothing." "Mingyue, where are you? I can't see anything." Wait for me for a while. I'll be done in a while." Su Mingyue thought for a moment. The room wasn't big and she and Lin Jun were facing each other. Although they couldn't see each other in the darkness, being exposed like this made her feel ashamed. She quietly turned around, her back facing Lin Jun. She slowly stood up. The roof wasn't high, so she could only bend over and take off her pure white underwear. Just as she reached her knees, she heard a cough behind her. Lin Jun seemed to be having trouble breathing. "What's wrong?" Su Mingyue was stunned. "Shoo, don't move. I think I heard something." Lin Jun's voice was very low, as if something was stuck in his throat. Su Mingyue immediately held her breath and didn't move, but she didn't hear anything. After about 3 seconds, she seemed to hear Lin Jun's heartbeat. She instinctively felt that something was wrong, but she didn't know what it was. She hurriedly took off her underwear, and then took out a new set of underwear and a white dress from her space ring. After putting on her clothes, Su Mingyue brought a towel to dry her hair. At the same time, she raised her hand, and a dot of light condensed into a ball, floating on the roof of the room. The beauty in front of him didn't wear any makeup. She had a smile on her face as she tilted her head to dry her hair. Such a beautiful scene was rarely seen in the world. However, Lin Jun raised his head and took in deep breath. Su Mingwe dried her hair and then said to Lin Jun, "You should change your clothes too. I promise I won't look." Su Mingwe turned around. After a while, there was a "pa" sound behind her, as if something was whipping her skin. "Lin Jun, what's wrong?" Su Mingwe's back. "Oh, nothing. I just changed." Su Mingwe didn't understand why there would be such a sound when he changed his underwear. Also, didn't men only have one piece of underwear? After a while, Lin Jun changed his clothes. He was wearing loose white pajamas which were very soft. Lin Jun lay there, and Su Mingwe took the initiative to snuggle up to him. She put her head on Lin Jun's chest. Lin Jun closed his arms and hugged Su Mingwe. He softly said, "Where's my reward?" Su Mingwe hesitated for a moment. "Then I'll let you kiss me." "Okay." Lin Jun slowly leaned over. Su Mingwe nervously grabbed Lin Jun's clothes. Her body was trembling slightly. She felt Lin Jun's breath on her face. She didn't dare to look at Lin Jun's eyes and slowly closed her eyes. Lin Jun, of course, wouldn't just kiss her face. He gently kissed her sweet cherry lips, and then fiercely hugged her. This lovable little girl had saved him more than once. Lin Jun couldn't wait to integrate her into his bones. Su Mingwe's mind was blank. She didn't know how long the world was spinning. Until she felt a big hand covering her chest, she grabbed Lin Jun's hand. "Lin Jun, don't," whispering like a kitten, Lin Jun took several deep breaths, and with great willpower, let go of his hand. He knew that what he could do now was already the limit that Su Mingwe could accept. If he went further, Su Mingwe would definitely not agree. Although Lin Jun also had the possibility of coaxing her, he didn't want to do that. Su Mingwe's face was red as she buried her head in Lin Jun's chest. She felt that her lips were numb. Lin Jun suddenly thought of something. How strong is your spiritual power?" "Gold late stage." "Oh, when will you reach dark gold?" "If it goes well, maybe 3 or 4 months." Su Mingwe raised her head, her lips were slightly swollen. She didn't understand why Lin Jun asked this. Lin Jun secretly nodded. Su Mingwe was really a genius. Even without eating the spiritual power fruit, her spiritual power was almost the same as his. However, when she reached dark gold, she might have thoughts of strangling him to death. "You've advanced to War God?" Su Mingwe asked Lin Jun. "Yes, I've advanced." "I see that you've also advanced." "Yes, when I came out from Sky Dome, I was already on the verge of advancing. After coming here, I immediately broke through. I'm now early rank 3. Su Mingwe adjusted her body and found a more comfortable position in Lin Jun's arms. Lin Jun began to tell Su Mingwe about the battle in Sky Dome. In the end, he told her that Yu Zhenhua was still waiting outside and that he still had to go out. Su Mingwe nodded. "I'll go out with you tomorrow." Although the two of them were rejected by the star fruit tree, Lin Jun didn't want to leave immediately. Su Mingwe also didn't seem to want to leave immediately. In the end, Su Mingwe picked up the star observation mirror with an unhappy expression. "Lin Jun, do you think there's a way to fix it? I've been carrying it with me since I was young. When I was bored, I would use it to look at the stars. Moreover, this is very important to the Church of Divine Grace. If Master knew, he would be very unhappy. I don't even dare to go back." Lin Jun took the star observation mirror from Su Mingwe's hand. This was a high-grade support-type astral tool. It was very precious and rare. Repairing it wasn't impossible, but it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. In order to repair a high-grade astral tool, one must first have a star realm expert who possessed star energy and was proficient in repairing it. Lin Jun understood this repair method. In his previous life, when he was in Starry Sky, he was bored for a long time. He had read a lot of books and materials about refining and repairing astral tools. He once hoped that he could become an astral tool forging grandmaster. It could be said that he already had the theoretical knowledge, but he didn't have the conditions to realize it in his previous life. However, after his rebirth, there were no opportunities or materials to refine and repair astral tools on Earth. Everyone knew nothing about this kind of thing, so he had no place to use it. In order to repair this star observation mirror, in addition to star realm experts and professionals, there was one more thing, that was the transfer of star energy. The transfer of star energy from other astral tools of the same grade to this damaged astral tool would restore a layer of star energy. However, the transferred astral tool would also be destroyed. If 10 were transferred, the damaged astral tool could be restored. Simply put, 10 high-grade astral tools could restore 1 high-grade astral tool. If it wasn't a particularly precious astral tool, then this was a business that would lose money. Ordinary astral tools weren't worth it. However, in Lin Zhen's opinion, this star observation mirror was worth it. However, where would he get 10 high-grade astral tools? Lin Zhen didn't have any idea at the moment. Looking at the helpless expression of the girl beside him, Lin Zhen held the star observation mirror in the palm of his hand. Don't worry. I will definitely repair this astral tool. Really? Can it really be repaired? Su Mingyue's eyes immediately lit up. Definitely, I promise. Su Mingyue nodded. I believe in your promise. Lin Zhen was slightly embarrassed. When Su Mingyue's spirit power reached dark gold, and she discovered that dark gold spirit readers had night vision, would she still believe in his promise? The two whispered to each other and laughed from time to time. The night passed quietly. The next day, Lin Zhen woke up after only an hour of sleep. Looking at the curled-up Mingyue in his arms, he couldn't help but kiss her. Su Mingyue opened her eyes. We should go. Yeah, the repulsive force of this star fruit tree is too strong. It's too uncomfortable to stay here. After tidying up his clothes, Lin Zhen put away the liquid metal. Su Mingyue looked at the little nest with some reluctance. I may never come back, but I will always remember this place. Staying here makes me feel peaceful and comfortable. Haha, let's go, The place isn't that important. What's important is the person. You can think of me more when you have nothing to do. Okay. When I think of you, I feel at ease. That's right. No matter what happens in the future, you will have me. I am your family. You will no longer be a person without a home. The place where you feel at ease is your home. Su Mingyue smiled. Suddenly, she stepped on the shield and rose into the air. She looked back and smiled. You want to say that you are my family? Then who are you to me? Of course I am yours. I'm not listening. Catch up with me first. Su Mingyue turned around and left as fast as lightning. Lin Zhen's liquid metal also turned into a shield. His absolute speed was faster than Su Mingyue's, but of course, he would not shake Su Mingyue off. The two of them were almost neck to neck as they ran out of the north of the star fruit tree. The shadows of the trees flew past them. An hour later, they arrived at Tree Heart Lake. The platform is up ahead. Yu Zhenhua is still waiting there. We may have to fight. Su Mingyue nodded without fear. She would only show her gentleness in front of Lin Zhen. Most of the time, she was still a martial artist. Moreover, she was a powerful martial artist with an incomparably strong will. The two of them flew side by side from Tree Heart Lake to the platform. A day and a night had passed. There were still many people on the platform. Most of them did not leave. Yu Zhenhua had been sitting there the whole time. He only sent people to take away Yu Feng's body. He swore that he would avenge Yu Feng. Guillermo did not know why the Grand Divinity Master that Yi Lanshan was looking for did not appear. This made Guillermo a little anxious. Seeing Lin Zhen and Su Mingyue flying over, someone reminded him. Master, Lin Zhen is out. Yu Zhenhua opened his eyes, which were bloodshot. He stood up with a whoosh. Chapter 206. Seeing Yu Zhenhua stand up, the surrounding people all retreated. Yu Yu Zhenhua, who had lost his son, was definitely going crazy. If they went to stop him now, they would definitely have a death grudge. Even Guo Mo was a bit hesitant. Only the people who came with him reminded him, Hall Master, be careful. That Su Mingyue is great divinity sect Gong Sun Du's disciple. It's fine if you kill Linjun, but if you hurt her, then things will be troublesome. Although Yu Zhenhua was extremely angry, he didn't lose his mind. He said to the people beside him, I'm not that stupid. However, Feng died because of this girl. If she doesn't know what's good for her, then we'll have to teach her a lesson. As he spoke, Lin Zhen and Su Mingyue had already arrived in front of the platform. Moreover, they didn't hesitate to walk out of the invisible barrier that was blocking the war god expert. Yu Zhenhua moved his feet and blocked in front of Lin Zhen and Su Mingyue. Lin Zhen, you've got guts. You actually dared to walk out of the star fruit tree. Today, I'll take your head and offer it to Feng Er's soul in heaven. Su Mingyue pulled out her sword with a clang and blocked in front of Lin Zhen. Su Mingyue, Feng came to this step because he liked you. Now that he's already died for you, don't you have any sympathy in your heart? Do you still want to help this brat? Yu Zhenhua sized up Su Mingyue and thought that she was truly a femme fatale. It was normal for his son to be infatuated with her. If it was him when he was young, he would definitely fight for her. Su Mingyue coldly snorted, Yu Feng deserved it. No one can touch Lin Zhen. Good, good, good. Feng really misjudged you. Since you're determined to stop me, then you and Lin Zhen can stay here together. Yu Zhenhua's heart was also filled with anger and couldn't care less. As he spoke, Yu Zhenhua raised his hand and a cyan-colored longsword appeared in his hand. As Chen Fenglie's good friend, he also learned sword art. Moreover, this longsword was extraordinary. After pulling it out, even Lin Zhen's pupils contracted. Middle-grade astral tool. This was actually a middle-grade astral tool. According to what Lin Zhen knew, a middle-grade astral tool, as long as they dared to go to the ancient god ruins and come out alive, they would more or less have astral tools in their hands. So it wasn't strange for him to have a middle-grade astral tool. Although he had a high position, he had a lot, he didn't have time to go explore the ancient god ruins. Although he had a high status, right, but a lot of the other wore to have time, to go explore god ruins like other ancient god like other like, who have the time. To go to the ancient god ruins. Bees kill dies hands kill. He. Yeses? Thinking about how Su Mingyue's sword wasn't even an astral tool, how could it contend against the opponent's middle-grade astral tool longsword? Lin Zhen pulled Su Mingyue. Don't do anything in this battle. I'll do it myself. Why? Su Mingyue's red lips slightly pouted. She was a little unhappy. I killed his son. He will definitely take revenge for this. Even if we can get through this battle by joining hands, he will definitely continue to pester me in the future. It's better for me to face him head-on. As long as I don't die today, he won't be able to find trouble with me in the future. At most, he will use some dirty tricks behind my back. So, I can't retreat from this battle. No, I don't agree. It's too dangerous. Su Mingyue shook her head vigorously. No matter what, she wouldn't let Lin Zhen take the risk alone. Seeing that there were still a lot of people watching, Lin Zhen scratched his head and simply embraced Su Mingyue's slender waist. Darling, be good. Be obedient. You? What did you call me? Su Mingyue widened her eyes and looked at Lin Zhen in disbelief. I said, darling, ah. Su Mingyue covered her ears. Her face and neck were red. Even her earlobes were red. Although she had already recognized Lin Zhen, the two of them hadn't reached this level yet. Yesterday, she let Lin Zhen kiss her once. That was because she missed him too much after not seeing him for a long time. She still couldn't accept too much passion. What's more, Lin Zhen actually called her that in front of these people and said it in such a mushy way. Pushing Lin Zhen away, Su Mingyue ran to a corner. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at the crowd. Her heart was extremely flustered. Lin Jin smiled. It was too easy to deal with a little girl. However, Yu Zhenhua was so angry that his eyelids were twitching. You're so young and don't want to make progress, but you're so skilled at picking up girls. People like you are really the shame of my fierce wind. I can tell you right now that you are no longer a member of the fierce wind. I'm really sorry. I now belong to the fierce wind dojo in Bingqing. Although you are the head dojo master, if you want to chase me away, you have to personally give the order. You don't have the final say. If Dongfang Jun dares to not listen to me, I'll remove him first. Then let's wait for head Dongfang's order. Lin Jin raised his hand and an astral spear appeared in his hand. Seeing this spear, Yu Zhenhua was even more furious and was about to make a move. At this time, Guillermo walked over. Wait a minute. Guillermo, what are you doing? Yu Zhenhua glared at Guillermo. Head Yu. Lin Jin is a member of my divine general training camp. Now that he has walked out of the star fruit tree, it means that he has graduated. When he reaches the tree, he should receive his graduation certificate and prize. It's against the rules for you to stop him. Humph. He killed my son and still wants to graduate. Dream on. Lin Jin, you definitely won't be able to walk out of the star fruit tree today. At this time, Lin Jin suddenly thought of something and said to Yu Zhenhua, then what if I walk out of the star fruit tree? What a joke. You're just a beginner-level war god. If you can walk out of the star fruit tree alive under my sword, then I can promise you that today's matter will end here. I will never cause trouble for you in front of others. Yu Zhenhua was still a shrewd old man. Although he had enough confidence to take care of Lin Jin, he didn't make a promise. He only said that he wouldn't cause trouble for Lin Jin in front of others. This was already a big concession. Lin Jin also didn't expect Yu Zhenhua to give up on revenge for his son. He immediately said to Guillermo, head instructor, since head Yu has said so, then I can't back down. Everyone can wait under the star fruit tree for me to receive my graduation certificate and prize. Guillermo looked deeply at Lin Jin. Since the head divinity sect didn't come, there really wasn't a better way. Although he doubted that Lin Jin could successfully walk down the tree while being chased by Yu Zhenhua, he still respected the agreement between the two fighters. Good. Today's battle, none of us will participate. As long as you, Lin Jin, can walk down the sky stairway to the surface, I promise that Yu Zhenhua won't be able to hurt you. As he spoke, Guillermo began to organize everyone to leave the platform and head to the surface. Only Su Mingyue was at the back. Her eyes were filled with tears and didn't want to leave. It took Lin Jin a lot of persuasion before Su Mingyue agreed for the time being. When she left, she pulled on Lin Jin's clothes and said, Lin Jin, if you still want your Yu heir to live well, then you have to come down in one piece. Otherwise, I'll take you back to that pool and bury us there together. Don't be silly. We have to live well until the end of time. Lin Jin patted Su Mingyue's hand. Only then did she leave, looking back 3 times with every step she took. After waiting for a while, from the platform, they could faintly see the waving flags on the ground. That was the staff signal. Yu Zhenhua, who had already adjusted his breathing to the best state, stood up and said, Lin Jin, are you ready to leave this world? Not yet. Lin Jin shook his head. Yu Zhenhua wanted to laugh at him for being a coward, but Lin Jin suddenly said, I'm ready to leave the star fruit tree. As he spoke, Lin Jin's figure flashed and he teleported away from the platform. He was already at the edge of the sky stairway's stairs. You're courting death. How dare you play tricks with me? Yu Zhenhua's speed was even faster. With a spring from his feet, he rushed over in an instant. He knew that Lin Jin could teleport, but there was a short gap between teleportations. For a quasi-star cultivator like him, his speed wasn't considered fast. Furthermore, Lin Jin shouldn't even think about teleporting a second time in front of him. The next time Lin Jin made a move, he would interrupt him. This was because he was also a telekinesis master, and had reached the middle stage of the dark gold realm. He swept in front of Lin Jun and attacked with his longsword. There weren't countless sword shadows, only a simple sword strike. However, it was fierce, fast, and peerlessly fierce. Gold chi poured into the spear in Lin Jun's hand. The astral weapon spear's strength immediately increased by another level. It was already comparable to Yu Zhenhua's mid-tier longsword. Open! Lin Jun didn't make any fancy moves. The basic spear arts he had learned from Zhang Guanyue were put to good use. He used the simplest block, immovable mountain, and raised his fire to burn the sky. One! A huge explosion sounded. Yu Zhenhua's body flew backward. The hard tree trunk beneath Lin Jun's feet cracked like a spider web. His face flushed red and the blood in his chest roiled. A quasi-star realm cultivator was indeed a quasi-star realm cultivator. This attack made him feel very uncomfortable. Yu Zhenhua was even more shocked than Lin Jun. His opponent was merely a third-grade war god, yet he was able to block his sword strike from above. This was simply inconceivable. Your spear arts aren't bad. Where did you learn them from? Yu Zhenhua slowly asked. What do you think? Lin Jun smiled. He suddenly stomped on the ground and flew down the sky stairways stairs for dozens of meters. Where do you think you're going? Yu Zhenhua immediately chased after him. The two of them exchanged a few blows in the air. What shocked him even more was that he couldn't gain an overwhelming advantage over Lin Jun in terms of speed. How is this possible? This kid's speed and strength are no longer at the level of a beginner-level war god. He's even comparable to an advanced-level war god. No wonder Feng are lost to him. If this person matures, he will become a threat to me. I can't let him live. Yu Zhenhua's sword strikes were faster than the previous one. Lin Jun also had tricks up his sleeves. Lightning energy burst forth as he circled around the tree and retreated. Yu Zhenhua couldn't take him down in a short amount of time. The two of them instantly descended 100 meters and headed straight for the platform of the 4th floor. Chapter 207. This type of flying saucer was the best aircraft at the moment. Not everyone could afford it. Not only could it evade radar, but it could also emit fog to disguise itself as clouds. Even mutant birds would not want to get close to it. In recent years, technology had been recovering rapidly. Many satellites had been successfully launched. Martial artists in various base cities could connect to the internet. Although the network signal was not as good as during the Christian era, it was not far off. Inside the aircraft, two people were drinking wine while watching the battle below through the large screen in the saucer that could connect to satellite signals. The two people were wearing similar clothes. They were both wearing black robes embroidered with stars. This was the clothing that only the top echelons of the church could wear. One of them was Gongsun Du, the Grand Master of the Grace Church in Beijing Bay City. The other was Alan, the Grand Master of the St. Sophia Church in Ice City Bay City. Seeing Lin Jun fighting with Yu Zhenhua, Gongsun Du nodded slightly. Although Lin Jun was at an absolute disadvantage, he was still stubbornly resisting and occasionally launching fierce counterattacks to make Yu Zhenhua panic. Alan, what do you think of this Lin Jun? Alan was in his 50s. He took a sip of wine and said, stronger than Tang Yu. Well, it's a pity that Tang Yu died in the stellar fruit tree. It's a pity that we don't know who the killer is. We don't even know if it's a human or an insect. Alan thought for a moment and said, the important people in our church all have soul plates with their own psychic power imprints. Tang Yu's soul plate was broken a few months ago. Someone must have killed him. He wouldn't have died in the hands of those insects. I have no doubt about that. Gongsun Du nodded and said, indeed. I've seen Tang Yu before. I don't believe it was the insects that killed him unless he wanted to die. Speaking of this, Gongsun Du suddenly looked at Alan and said, do you have a suspect? Alan's eyes flashed and he said, Tang Yu likes moon. You mean you er? That's impossible. The men who like moon can line up from Ice City to Beijing. Also, Ming Yu has always been straightforward with men. Would Moon kill Tang Yu just because he likes her? What a joke. Gongsun Du was dismissive. Brother Gongsun, I didn't say it was you or. That child has a kind heart. Not to mention Tang Yu, even if it was a bad person, she wouldn't casually kill them. Of course it couldn't be her. But you have to admit that if Yuer doesn't know Linjin, then the only boy she knows is probably Tang Yu. If Yuer really does find her other half in the future, then the possibility of Tang Yu is still very high, right? Gongsun Du thought for a moment and nodded. Although I don't quite agree with you, if that's really the case, I'm afraid there's no other choice. What do you mean? That's right. I mean him. He has the motive and the ability. Based on the fact that he can temporarily survive Yu Zhenhua's attack, he is very suspicious. Gongsun Du looked down and saw that Lin Zhen was already showing signs of fatigue under Yu Zhenhua's fierce attacks. However, the battle had already progressed from the 5th platform to the 3rd platform. They were almost halfway there. As long as Lin Zhen could hold on to the last 3 levels, he might really be able to escape from Yu Zhenhua's attack. Hearing Alan's analysis, Gongsun Du also felt that it made sense. He was also clear about Tang Yu's ability. He was definitely one of the best in this batch of students, and there were very few people who could kill him. According to the news from the fruit tree, Tang Yu had once entered the sky vault and was under Yu Feng's command. Of course, Yu Feng wouldn't kill his own subordinates for no reason, so the people who could kill Tang Yu were almost obvious. Lin Zhen was the most suspicious, although there was no evidence. As long as this kind of thing was suspected, there was no need for too much evidence. Whoever you identified in your heart was the evidence. Gongsun Du looked at Alan. Alan, you and I are also old friends. Yu and Tang Yu met when they were young, and we used to laugh and talk about whether the 2 children could grow up together. Unfortunately, Yu didn't understand, and in the end, they were not fated to be together. I know my disciple, that child is stubborn. Since she chose Lin Zhen, I'm afraid she won't turn back. If Lin Zhen dies, Yu will definitely do something stupid, so you can't do it. Alan poured another glass of red wine and drank it in one gulp, then said to Gongsun Du, Brother, I also know the severity of this matter. This matter is ultimately my guess, and it can't be counted. However, when I think about the possibility of Tang Yu dying in his hands, I feel uncomfortable in my heart. After all, I was the one who brought her up, and I feel that the current Lin Zhen is not worthy of Yu. Gongsun Du agreed with this very much. Su Mingwe was brought up by him, and he taught her martial arts step by step. He taught her everything that a saintess should do. He was both her master and her father, and Su Mingwe was both his disciple and his daughter. Since she was young, Su Mingwe had displayed outstanding talent, and was truly a rare genius. In addition, after reaching the age of flowers, she became even more beautiful. According to Gongsun Du's inner thoughts, she was a disaster to the country and the people. Moreover, Su Mingwe had a good temper and was usually obedient. Such a disciple and daughter was simply the pearl of Gongsun Du's palm. Now that she was actually taken away by this stinking brat Lin Zhen, he was extremely unhappy in his heart when he thought about how Su Mingwe might leave him and the divine sect to marry Lin Zhen in the future. Why did you, Lin Zhen, come over and take her away when I worked so hard to raise her? Isn't this daylight robbery? I absolutely can't agree. However, when he thought of Su Mingwe's stubbornness, Gongsun Du also had a headache. If he forcefully stopped this matter, he was afraid that something bad would happen. Looking at the changing expression on Gongsun Du's face, Alan suddenly smiled. Brother Gongsun, do you know about the drama in the stellar fruit tree recently? I know a little. Gongsun Du nodded. Yi Lanshan had already come out and told him most of the things. Then it's easy. Since you helped your brother once, it can also be considered as helping you once. If you can't get Tang Yu, this brat won't be able to get it easily either. Consider it as helping me vent my anger. With that, Alan and Gongsun Du exchanged a few words. Gongsun Du thought for a while and nodded slightly. All right, since Brother Gongsun Du has agreed, I have nothing else to do. I will take my leave now. As he spoke, Alan raised his foot and disappeared. He stepped on the void and quickly disappeared. As the great divine sect master of Ice City, Alan was also a Star Realm expert and could teleport. Gongsun Du sighed and looked at Lin Jin's side. He had already fought with Yu Zhenhua to the bottom of the platform on the first floor. As the two's battle got closer to the ground, the people below who supported Lin Jin saw hope. In their opinion, Lin Jin was very difficult to deal with. If they were to face each other head-on, Yu Zhenhua would probably be able to deal with him within a minute. However, this brat wasn't the kind of person who didn't have a brain when fighting. He was simply like a loach. Whenever Yu Zhenhua attacked, he would fly and teleport. Occasionally, there would be a flash that would dazzle people's eyes. Furthermore, with the support of the electric current, his speed wasn't any slower than Yu Zhenhua's. It was very difficult to land a hit, especially in this kind of environment where they were going all the way down. Sometimes, when Yu Zhenhua attacked quickly, he would suddenly defend himself. After a fierce collision, Yu Zhenhua still couldn't take him down. That mountain-like defense gave Yu Zhenhua a headache. Whenever Yu Zhenhua exerted his strength, he would slip away. Although Yu Zhenhua had succeeded a few times in the middle, he only slightly injured Lin Jin. It wasn't fatal. He still ran as fast as a rabbit. As the two sides fought repeatedly, they gradually fought to the bottom of the platform on the first floor. They weren't far from the ground and could even see the expressions of the people below. Su Mingyue clenched her small fists tightly. She was incomparably happy in her heart. Lin Jin was actually able to escape from Yu Zhenhua's pursuit. Clang, 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 clang. After a few consecutive collisions, Lin Jin once again borrowed the force to retreat. He had already arrived at a place that was only 50 or 60 meters away from the ground. There was a turn here, which was just enough for the crowd. The heaven's stairway suddenly became wider. Yu Zhenhua, it seems that you don't have a chance today. Lin Jin chuckled. There were a few sword wounds on his body, but it wasn't a big deal. Is that so? I don't think so. The scenery here is pretty good. I'll make it your burial ground. Yu Zhenhua suddenly shot forward like lightning. In the blink of an eye, a strong wind blew around Lin Jin, enveloping Lin Jin inside. Ah! This is the wind element. Lin Jin was shocked. Haha, that's right. You should know that I also came out from the stellar fruit tree. I have also absorbed special star crystals. I have also mastered the wind element for many years, but I rarely use it in front of others. Today it finally comes in handy. Lin Jin, do you really think that you can escape from my attack? I deliberately put you here so that when you see hope, you will despair. Just like how you treated Feng'er yesterday. Let him die in front of my eyes. I also want you to die in front of that stinking girl. Become the sacrifice of the strong wind. The hurricane howled crazily, forming a tornado within 100 meters of the heaven's stairway. This distance was just the distance that Lin Jin could teleport. His current maximum teleportation distance was no more than 50 meters. It was just right that he couldn't leave the hurricane. Even his body was out of control for the first time. He was swept up by the hurricane. This wind was spinning in circles, forming a tornado. Lin Jin's body followed the flow of the hurricane and quickly rose to the top. Lin Jin held the astral tool long spear in his hand. He couldn't teleport or fly now. He could only hope to use the astral tool long spear to nail into a tree and stabilize his body first. Haha. It's useless. Reverse Chi Whirlpool. The tornado suddenly changed. The airflow actually began to rotate in the opposite direction, pulling Lin Jin's body towards Yu Zhenhua. Yu Zhenhua grinned. The long sword in his hand was suffused with a blue light. A huge sword aura gradually formed. Fierce Wind Slash. He is going to use Fierce Wind Slash. Fierce Wind Slash was a martial skill created by Chen Fenglai. It was regarded as the most difficult supreme sword skill by many sword martial artists. He didn't expect Yu Zhenhua to have mastered it. Lin Zhen, the center of the hurricane is me. When you get close to me, take my fierce wind slash. Let's see if you can still resist it. The people below held their breaths as they watched this scene. Su Mingwei covered her mouth. She didn't even dare to breathe loudly for fear of affecting Lin Zhen's state. Guillermo had always thought that Yu Zhenhua wouldn't let Lin Zhen come to this level so easily. He didn't expect that Yu Zhenhua actually had this idea. Letting Lin Zhen die on the verge of seeing hope was indeed a kind of cruelty. However, he couldn't intervene at this moment. He put away the graduation certificate that he had prepared to give to Lin Zhen. He reckoned that he wouldn't need it. Chapter 208. It's over. It's such a pity for a talent like Lin Zhen. What's there to pity? Since he dared to kill Yu Feng, he should have been prepared for Yu Zhenhua's revenge. This is called an eye for an eye. Yu Zhenhua is truly ruthless. He purposely placed Lin Zhen here and killed him when he saw a glimmer of hope. This is what true despair looks like, as expected of the blazing Gale Martial School's master. Shu, lower your voice. Can't you see that Su Mingwei is still there? What's there to be afraid of? He's about to die. Perhaps I'll still have a chance if he dies. You're already so old, yet you still have such thoughts, truly shameless. Everyone was discussing fervently. However, their eyes were fixed on the center of the storm at the corner of the stairway. It was already impossible to see a person's figure clearly. The surrounding withered leaves and dust were all swept up by the storm. People could only vaguely see Lin Zhen spinning and falling in the storm. The sword aura in Yu Zhenhua's hand was also growing stronger. Once Lin Zhen reached him, he would definitely be sliced into two. Lin Zhen felt as if the wind around him was like a knife slicing across his face. A leaf brushed past and actually left a wound on his face. This won't do. I'll definitely die if I land on the ground. I need to stabilize my body first. The wind was spinning. The terrain here was vast, and there was no connection to the ground. Lin Zhen looked left and right. The only place he could get close to was when the wind was spinning to the left. It was closer to the tree trunk. The wind is shrinking inwards. I'm getting further and further away from the tree. The only chance I have is to stop the next time I get close, even if it's just for a second. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to the tree trunk, Lin Zhen suddenly opened his hand towards the tree trunk. The dark star energy in his body erupted at this moment. Gravity. The composition of Lin Zhen's dark star was now even more complicated. Energy bodies, dark matter, light, electricity, metal aura, and cold aura were all mixed together. The size of the dark star had become much larger and the gravitational force had also become stronger. When the gravity passed over, it actually dug a 1-meter deep hole in the star fruit tree. It was like two people pulling on a rope. Lin Zhen was the one exerting the force of gravity. His body was also pulled by the force of the pull. This pause only lasted for a second, but it was an extremely important second because Lin Zhen had disrupted Yu Zhenhua's momentum that he had been accumulating for a long time. Yu Zhenhua's gale to stop. Lin Zhen. His eyes suddenly widened, and the wind that was already spinning at an extremely high speed sped up again, hoping that it could blow Lin Zhen to him sooner. Lin Zhen only had time to use gravity, and he felt the wind around him rise by a few notches. His body fell quickly. Good. That's it. Lin Zhen gripped the astral tool spear in his hand with both hands. Traces of metal qi quickly gathered at the tip of the spear. His Dantian qi, which had been compressed 10 times, also began to erupt at this moment. He had never been a passive person. If Yu Zhenhua wanted to kill him, he had to respond. He had to give him a fierce counterattack. Yu Zhenhua raised the long sword in his hand. The sword aura on it spat out as he faced Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen, don't struggle. You can't teleport or fly in my gale. Although you've played a little trick, you still have to follow my rhythm and arrive in front of me. The sword force suddenly expanded to a length of 3 meters. Then, he viciously slashed at a spot 1 meter in front of Lin Zhen. Because Lin Zhen was moving forward in an arc in the whirlwind, his sword strike was in advance. According to his wind speed, when the sword aura reached there, Lin Zhen would also be there. What would fall would only be a rain of blood and broken limbs. As the sword was swung out, many people around couldn't bear to close their eyes. In the end, the gap between them was too big. Yu Zhenhua was completely in control of the rhythm of the battle, and there was no way to counterattack. It was a pity that Lin Zhen died. Guillermo looked at the graduation certificate that he had prepared and sighed. It was truly a pity. On the flying saucer, Gongsun Du also slowly closed his eyes. If that was the case, then the idea that Alan gave him would be useless. However, Yu would be heartbroken. Perhaps he should go over and take a look now. Su Mingyue's eyes were blurred by tears. She bit her red lips and said, "Lin Zhen, don't be afraid. Yu will accompany you back to where we belong and be with you forever." Just when everyone thought that a tragedy was about to happen, the situation suddenly changed. Behind Lin Zhen, the liquid metal suddenly opened up and turned into a parachute-like disc, instantly blocking most of the wind. Lin Zhen's feet stepped on the center of the disc. The liquid metal only appeared for 0.1 seconds before returning to Lin Zhen's waist. However, this huge wind force was all used on Lin Zhen's body. In an instant, Lin Zhen's speed increased by 10 times. Whoosh! Lin Zhen was like a ray of light, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yu Zhenhua. As for the Zephyr Slash, it only swept past when Lin Zhen was in front of Yu Zhenhua. It didn't hit anything, but it flew far into the sky and gradually dissipated. Not good. Yu Zhenhua only had time to say these 2 words before Lin Zhen's spear arrived in front of him. He could only wave the long sword in his hand to block with all his strength. One had been planning this for a long time, while the other had been caught off guard. Although there was a large gap in strength between them, Lin Zhen had the advantage of a long weapon. In addition to the huge wind force just now, the gap between him and Yu Zhenhua was closed, just like that. Yu Zhenhua, let me tell you, never be arrogant. Otherwise, you'll fail miserably. After the collision, a huge explosion shook everyone's eardrums. Under the dumbfounded gazes of everyone, the 2 people's weapons were locked in a stalemate for a moment. Then, Lin Zhen suddenly burst forth, pushing Yu Zhenhua dozens of meters forward. He was about to fall off the stellar fruit tree. Under Yu Zhenhua's feet, there were actually 2 deep trenches dozens of meters long on the wooden step. It could be seen that in order to block Lin Zhen's attack, he had to bear a lot of force. The gale had already disappeared. Yu Zhenhua's old face was red, and his arms were trembling. Seeing that he was about to leave the range of the heaven stairway, he was not willing to lose. He was not willing to let Lin Zhen leave right under his nose. Just at this time, the impact of Lin Zhen's attack had been exhausted. He still had to deal the final blow. The long sword in his hand suddenly twisted, and another sword was pulled out from the sword. Mother-child swords. Someone below the stage shouted. Yu Zhenhua's sword actually had a secret within it. A sword within a sword, this mid-grade astral weapon was not bad. Yu Zhenhua's figure dodged, allowing Lin Zhen to continue down with the momentum. At the same time, he struck out with a lightning-fast backstab, aiming for Lin Zhen's back. Since he could not stop him from leaving the fruit tree, he wanted to make Lin Zhen fall to the ground, but he would also become a corpse. Lin Zhen and Yu Zhenhua passed each other. At this time, he could no longer control his momentum. When he felt Yu Zhenhua's sword, he did not care too much. The liquid metal condensed together based on his feelings. Then, he raised one hand, and the lightning and golden chi in his palm gathered into an energy ball. He also fiercely blasted it out. There was a loud bang, a bloody light, a person screamed, and a person fell. Yu Zhenhua's short sword pierced through Lin Zhen's thick liquid metal defense on his back. However, after piercing through the liquid metal, the short sword was unable to penetrate Lin Jun. The sword stabbed Lin Jun's back, but it was not able to pierce through his heart as planned. Instead, his back was also hit by Lin Jun's last energy ball. The lightning and electricity power blasted his back into a charred black, causing him to fall on the steps of the heaven stairway in a sorry state. Lin Jun's body rolled to the ground, and he finally left the range of the heaven stairway. Su Mingwei cried out and rushed over, supporting Lin Jun. "Lin Jun, how are you?" "I'm fine, but I'm afraid I'll have to rest for a few days." Lin Jun's back was cut. The wound was not small, and it would probably take more than 10 days to recover. "Oh my God! Am I seeing things?" Lin Jun actually came down. This kid's methods and intelligence are top-notch. He actually knew how to use the wind to accelerate with liquid metal and dodge Yu Zhenhua's tempest slash. His courage is also admirable. He never thought of passively taking a beating, and even staged a counterattack at the last moment. Just based on this, I think he will advance to the Star Realm in the future. A Fierce Gale student injured the Fierce Gale Training Hall Master. If it weren't for the fact that the training camp has to keep this a secret, I'd really like to release this news. It would definitely be a hit. The surrounding people looked at Lin Jun with incomparable shock. Lin Jun could be considered the first person to be able to escape the pursuit of a Star Realm cultivator with the strength of a third-level war god. Moreover, he had personally injured Yu Zhenhua. This could be described as a magnificent feat. This matter would be publicized sooner or later, and Yu Zhenhua's prestige would definitely take a hit. The two of them would be considered mortal enemies. Yu Zhenhua crawled up in a sorry state, his back burning with pain. He looked down at Lin Jun, gritted his teeth, and picked up the short sword in his hand. He actually went against their agreement and charged at Lin Jun again. He couldn't care less anymore. At this point, if he didn't take care of Lin Jun, he would never be able to calm down. Not to mention whether or not he could avenge Yu Feng, he himself might not be able to advance to the Star Realm. However, this was no longer up to him. The three of them were protecting Lin Jun at the same time. Su Mingyue threw herself at Lin Jun, preparing to use her body to protect him. Guillermo pulled out his sword and stood in front of Lin Jun. He wanted to push Yu Zhenhua back and protect the agreement he had just made, as well as his prestige as the training camp's chief instructor. The third person was Gong Sundu, who appeared out of thin air. He shot out a beam of light from his hand and sent Yu Zhenhua flying back. Chapter 209. Seeing Gong Sundu's arrival, Yu Zhenhua knew there was no way he could kill Lin Jun. But he still yelled at Gong Sundu, "Gong Sundu, the one who died is my son." Every day, countless warriors come in and leave. In the end, they just return to the arms of the starry sky true God. Yu Zhenhua, on account of your son's death, I did not pursue the matter of him imprisoning you for 2 years. Don't be ungrateful. You'd better leave quickly. Yu Zhenhua glanced at Gong Sundu, slowly stood up and put away his swords. Lin Jun, this isn't over yet. As long as you're still a member of Lai Feng, I have a way to deal with you. Lin Jun also stood up at this time, any time. Yu Zhenhua snorted, turned around and left the stellar fruit tree. He got on his UFO and left the Divine General Training Camp. At this time, Guillermo walked over and said to Lin Jun and Su Mingyue, Lin Jun from Lai Feng Dojo of Ice City Bay City, Su Mingyue from God's Grace Church of Beijing Bay City, congratulations on completing the trial inside the stellar fruit tree and successfully becoming war gods. I now officially announce that you have graduated. Saying this, Guillermo handed over 2 graduation certificates to Lin Jun and Su Mingyue. Finally graduated, Lin Jun let out a long sigh. Lin Jun, after a discussion among all the instructors of the Divine General Training Camp, we unanimously agreed that your performance inside the stellar fruit tree was the best male student of the 494th batch. Therefore, you are rewarded with an astral tool. Astral tool. Lin Jun's eyes lit up. This was much more useful than any graduation certificate. Guillermo then said to Su Mingyue. Su Mingyue won the best female student and also received an astral tool. Su Mingyue nodded. She didn't seem very excited. Guillermo raised his hand and 10 chests appeared inside his space ring. There are altogether 10 astral tools here. Among them, there are 6 low-grade astral tools, 2 attack, defense, and support types, 3 middle-grade astral tools, 1 attack, defense, and support type, and 1 high-grade attack astral tool. You can choose according to your own wishes. Each of you can choose once. The surrounding people dispersed, wanting to see Su Mingyue and Lin Zhen's luck. When Lin Zhen heard this, he immediately became interested. If he could get a high-quality astral tool, then this would be a great opportunity. Astral tools could greatly increase a warrior's strength. With his current strength, if he were to equip a high-quality astral tool spear, then he would be able to crush an intermediate-level war god, or even a high-level war god. Su Mingyue's beautiful eyes also lit up as she stared at the boxes. Lin Zhen, you go first. You go, Yuer. I believe you can choose the one you like. Su Mingyue nodded and pointed to the one closest to her. I'll choose this one. Guillermo also didn't know what was inside each box. He walked over and opened the box while asking, Yuer, why did you choose this one? Actually, Su Mingyue and Guillermo weren't familiar. Even if Guillermo had a bit of friendship with Gong Sundu, it wasn't very deep. He called Su Mingyue Yuer, which was indeed a bit thick-skinned. However, his status was here, and he was also very old. It wasn't wrong to call her that. Su Mingyue glanced at Guillermo and then said, because this box is close to me. Guillermo was suddenly speechless. He went over and opened the box, but there was a slip of paper inside. Ah. Choose any high-grade astral tool. Guillermo was suddenly stunned. This was also possible. The other 9 boxes were all filled with astral tools. Only the high-grade astral tool was optional. In the end, it was chosen by Su Mingyue. Even Gong Sundu behind couldn't help but nod his head. Su Mingyue's luck was really speechless. Su Mingyue was also excited, her beautiful eyes shining. Can I choose any weapon type? Of course. Guillermo smiled and nodded. Then I choose. Before Su Mingyue could finish her words, Lin Zhen immediately interrupted. What she needs is a sword. There should be no need to ask. Guillermo nodded. That's good. I think Yuer's sword can't keep up with the trend. Uncle Guo will pick the best sword for you later. Su Mingyue looked at Lin Zhen. Obviously, Lin Zhen's answer was not her original intention. Lin Zhen looked at Su Mingyue. Silly girl, don't just think about other people, okay? But I got a high-grade astral tool. You don't have a high-grade astral tool. It doesn't matter. I already have a spear. A mid-grade astral tool is also pretty good. Yuer's luck is so good. Help me pick one. Su Mingyue was also not polite. She immediately pointed to the one next to her box. This one. Guillermo walked over and opened it. Unexpectedly, there was a pair of shoes inside. Yuer's luck is really good. It really is a mid-grade astral tool. Moreover, it's a shoe-type astral tool. This is very rare. Lin Zhen took it and looked it up and down. He immediately showed a happy expression. Cloud treading. This is a mid-grade astral tool that integrates defense and flight. Its value is not inferior to the average attack-type high-grade astral tool. Lin Zhen was a spirit reader master. Every time he needed to fly, he would need a shield. Sometimes, he would use liquid metal as a substitute. In fact, it was not very convenient, but this pair of shoes could replace a spirit reader's flight medium. Moreover, it had a super strong defensive power for the feet, which was indeed very rare. Although he did not get a high-grade attack-type astral tool, Lin Zhen knew that attack-type astral tools were the most common. Even if it was a high-grade, in a sense, it was not as practical as this pair of shoes. Seeing that Lin Zhen had obtained a very good mid-grade astral tool, Su Mingyue showed a sweet smile. This made Gong Sun do to the side frown repeatedly. He secretly thought that a grown girl could not be kept at home. Because Lin Zhen's body was still injured, everything in the Divine General Training Camp was simple. After a few simple words, graduation was over. Lin Zhen, Su Mingyue, if you have time in the future, you are welcome to come back and take a look. If you are willing, you can also come back and be an instructor. We welcome you at any time. Lin Zhen and Su Mingyue nodded and then said goodbye to these people. Gongsun Du had just boarded the UFO and ordered them to follow him immediately. Lin Zhen originally wanted to return to Ice City Base City, but his wounds still needed to be treated. In addition, he still had to go to the capital Base City. There were vitality potions from the European Union for sale. Now that he had money, he could buy them for his parents. He followed Su Mingyue to Gongsun Du's UFO. After boarding the UFO, it took off and flew towards the capital Base City. However, Lin Zhen felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange. Gongsun Du kept a straight face and did not say anything. He sat there and watched the TV screen. Su Mingyue was like a little girl who had done something wrong. She silently lowered her head and did not make a sound. Lin Zhen still respected Gongsun Du. He had a deep impression of this person in his previous life. In his previous life, when the extraterrestrial civilization arrived, Gongsun Du had even reached the week of radiance. He was considered one of the top people on Earth. When the extraterrestrial civilization invaded, Gongsun Du did not immediately resist. He even had contact with the invaders. At that time, Lin Zhen even looked down on this person, thinking that he would join the invaders and become a traitor. However, Su Mingyue fought with the invaders and died on the spot. After her death, Gongsun Du exploded. First, he brought a group of invaders to the Grace Cathedral in the name of surrendering. Then, a great battle broke out. Gongsun Du, who seemed to be harmless, attacked like a madman. He killed 11 invaders by himself and killed his way onto a space battleship that was invading the capital area. In the end, he successfully detonated the battleship and became the first warrior in Asia to destroy a space battleship. Of course, Gongsun Du also died in that battle. It was a huge explosion that almost covered the sky, but it was still fresh in Lin Zhen's memory. This person was a rational, calm, and powerful person. The only weakness in his heart was probably Su Mingyue, the girl that he had brought up. She was not a daughter, but she was even more like a daughter. It was normal for him to be in a bad mood at this time. Lin Zhen silently walked over and said, "Senior Gongsun." Gongsun Du suddenly interrupted Lin Zhen. "Don't talk first, sit down." Lin Zhen was stunned for a moment, but he still sat down. Su Mingyue immediately came over and began to bandage Lin Zhen's wound. Gongsun Du glanced at it and coldly snorted. Then, he increased the volume of the satellite television. Lin Zhen smiled bitterly. This matter seemed to be difficult to deal with, especially since Su Mingyue's stargazing mirror was broken because of him. Who knew what kind of trouble would arise? Su Mingyue silently bandaged Lin Zhen's wound, gently biting her red lips. She was obviously nervous. At this time, the sound of the television attracted the attention of several people. Latest report: the month-long attack on the African Alliance's Cape Town base city came to an end today. Cape Town base city has been breached by mutant beasts. A large number of African Alliance martial artists who went to Cape Town to provide support were killed. The evacuation of Cape Town did not go smoothly. They were intercepted by mutant beasts midway. According to incomplete statistics, the number of ordinary citizens who died has risen to 9 million. Then came the images of the battlefield broadcast by the satellite. The city walls of Cape Town had been knocked down by a group of mutant rhinos. Smoke filled the air, and people screamed and fled. Countless mutant jackals, mutant porcupines, mutant zebras, and mutant leopards pounced on the fleeing crowd. A fighter jet took off, and mutant vultures in the sky immediately swarmed up. Soon, the cockpit of the fighter jet was torn apart, and the pilot was torn apart in the air by the vultures. The fighter jet spun in the air and crashed. Tanks came out from the collapsed city walls. A 10-meter-tall mutant elephant rushed over, and with a stomp, the tank was turned into a discus. Some parts of the city walls were still resisting. A giraffe rushed over, and its huge head swept over the city walls. 4 or 5 soldiers were swallowed, and the roaring cannons were completely silenced. Poisonous snakes wandered the streets, and apes jumped on the rooftops. The army was completely defeated. Some martial artists were still fighting. Lin Zhen even saw a few dark-skinned African war gods holding a position, continuously killing large numbers of mutant beasts. However, a mutant lion with 3 heads, bigger than an armored car, leaped onto the city wall. The 3 heads pounced on them several times, and 3 war gods were killed on the spot. Not even their bodies were left. S-class mutant beast. This lion is an S-class mutant beast. Gongsun Du's eyes narrowed as he spoke. Chapter 210. When Lin Zhen saw this, he thought to himself. His rebirth did not cause too many changes. What was supposed to happen was still happening. In his previous life, Ice City Base City was the 3rd large base city to fall into enemy hand. The first was Cape Town in the African Union, and the second was Amazon Base City in Brazil. The interval between each base city's fall was around half a year. However, Bingqing's situation was different from those 2 places. The African Union didn't have many base cities, and Cape Town was at the southernmost point, far away from other countries. It was also a disaster area where mutant beasts ran rampant. The African Union's technology wasn't as good, so it was only a matter of time before it fell. Brazil's situation was similar. The number of mutant beasts in Rio wasn't much less than in Africa, and the Amazon River was full of water monsters. Establishing Amazon Base City was a mistake, and it wouldn't be able to hold on after half a year, so they chose to give up. The fall of Bingqing Base City was a bit like a disaster. The city's construction problems and the carelessness of the city's management caused a huge disaster. Of course, even without the disaster, the scale of the mutant beast attack in Bingqing was still quite large. At this time, the TV screen was still broadcasting. Because the African Union is not a member of the World War God Alliance, it didn't receive any support from the alliance when Cape Town was besieged. Now, the African Union has officially proposed to join the World War God Alliance, and it has received the support of our country, India, Brazil, and other countries. The 3 members of the World War God Alliance have said that they will provide a solution soon. Gongsun Du turned off the TV. The World War God Alliance is controlled by the 3 major countries, America, the European Union, and Russia. What right do you have to say if you join? If you have the energy, you might as well use it to spread the teachings of our religion. Lin Zhen didn't continue the conversation. It was pointless for him to discuss the existence of true gods with Gongsun Du. As for the World War God Alliance, he knew a little about it. It seemed that a war god arena was held to determine the ranking of the World War God Alliance. In his previous life, Huaxia's performance in the war god arena was average, and they were ranked 4th. It was a bit awkward. Later, Huaxia had some conflicts with other countries and wanted to leave the World War God Alliance. But before anything could happen, the second upheaval of mankind came, and these things were left unsettled. In his previous life, Lin Zhen did not have the qualifications to participate in the war god arena. He did not know if he would have the opportunity to do so in this life. Gongsun Du glanced at Lin Zhen, and Lin Zhen nodded at him. Senior Gongsun. Gongsun Du also nodded, then looked at Su Mingyue. Where's the star observation mirror? I broke it, Su Mingyue replied in a low voice. Where is it? How did it break? Lin Zhen immediately took out the fragment of the star-observing mirror. Senior Gongsun, the star-observing mirror is with me. This is how I broke it. Naturally, he couldn't let Su Mingyue explain these things, so he immediately told her about how the stargazing mirror was damaged. Hearing that Su Mingyue took the initiative to touch the stargazer, the blue veins on Gongsun Du's forehead seemed to jump, and he looked at Lin Jun with an unfriendly look. Su Mingyue hurriedly said to Gong Sun Du, Master, Lin Jun said that he will fix the star-observing mirror. Gong Sun Du heard this and sneered, Really? He actually has such a great ability? He just entered the war god realm and he dares to say that he can fix the star-observing mirror. I, Gong Sun Du, have entered the star realm for many years, and I have never heard of anyone who can fix an astral tool. I wonder, how should I address you? Senior Gong Sun, my name is Lin Jun. Lin Jun raised his head, neither servile nor overbearing. Although Gong Sun Du was someone worthy of his respect in this life, Lin Jun would not lower his head to anyone. I saw that you just fought with Yu Zhenhua, and your performance was very heroic, and now you even said that you can fix the star-observing mirror. I have to admire you. How about I call you Hero Lin? Facing Gong Sun Du's ridicule, Lin Jun smiled. I don't dare to be called a hero, but if I can be the son-in-law of the divine sect, don't even think about it. Gong Sun Du was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He angrily stared at Lin Jun. Lin Jun, do you know what the star-observing mirror means to our divine sect? Without waiting for Lin Jun to reply, Gong Sun Du continued, That is our divine sect's sacred object, the inheritance of the Holy Maiden. Now that you broke the star-observing mirror to save you, her Holy Maiden can no longer be passed down. In other words, she will always be the Holy Maiden. Always be the Holy Maiden? Lin Jun was stunned. That's right, the Holy Maiden of the divine sect must remain pure. If you marry someone, she must pass down the Holy Maiden's inheritance. But now that the Holy Maiden's inheritance is gone, this inheritance can no longer continue. You still dare to boast to me that you want to fix the star-observing mirror? Good. Then I can promise you that, if the star-observing mirror is fixed and you is willing, she can marry you. If you can't do it, then sorry Lin Jun, you won't even be qualified to be you friend in the future. Lin Jun didn't care about Gong Sun Du's words. First of all, he was confident that he still had a chance to fix the star-observing mirror. After entering the war god stage, he also wanted to try to explore the ancient god ruins. He believed that he would find some astral tools and slowly practice them. It wasn't impossible to do star teleportation, it just needed some time. Even if he couldn't fix it, the divine sect was about to fall. Calculating the time, there was still nearly a year until the fall of Ice City, and less than 6 years until the arrival of the extraterrestrial civilization. The arrival of the extraterrestrial civilization and the end of the divine sect. But Lin Jun didn't want to drag things out for too long. However, Su Mingyue seemed to have a lot of confidence in Lin Jun. Lin Jun, you can fix it quickly, right? Without waiting for Lin Jun to reply, Gong Sun Du snorted coldly, Let's not talk about whether he can fix it or not. I'm afraid that when he gets home, he'll have a hard time. After offending Yu Zhenhua, does he still want to stay in Lifeng? It'll be hard for him to survive in Ice City. He should solve his own problem first. Lin Jun didn't really care about this. Even if he couldn't stay in Lifeng anymore, Lin Jun had already passed the initial stage of accumulation. He had become a war god and had money, so he could train and live anywhere. The flying saucer began to slow down, and the capital base city appeared in their vision. Currently, there were 7 major countries in the world, and there were a total of 27 base cities. Huaxia's capital city, America's New York base city, Russia's St. Petersburg base city, the European Union's Paris base city, and India's New Delhi base city were the largest. Huaxia's capital city had the largest population of all the base cities. The entire base city had a population of over 100 million, which was much larger than during the Christian era. When the flying saucer approached, the radar scanned it. After discovering that it was the flying saucer of the divine sect, there was no movement. Gong Sun Du's flying saucer was exempt from inspection when entering and leaving the capital. The flying saucer flew all the way to the Grace Cathedral and began to slowly descend. After walking out of the flying saucer, Gongsun Du said to Lin Jun, "Hero Lin Jun, do you want to take a look at our cathedral?" Just as Lin Jun was about to answer, Gongsun Du immediately said, "I see that you're not interested in the divine sect, so there's no need for a tour. I've already said what I need to say to you. Before you fix the stargazing mirror, you're not allowed to see Yu Er. I'll take Yu Er back now. She still has to carry out her duties as the saintess and spread the teachings of the divine sect." Su Mingyue looked at Gongsun Du, then looked at Lin Jun. She blinked her big eyes a few times, then her eyes turned red, and her long eyelashes began to droop. "Then I want to talk to Yu Er alone. Go to the flying saucer and say, I'll give you 5 minutes. Yu Er, you must come back in 5 minutes. After saying that, Gongsun Du stepped into the cathedral. This was what he promised Alan, and it was also his own idea. It was not so easy to take Su Mingyue away. Originally, Gongsun Du would rather let Su Mingyue be the saintess so that she could always be by his side. He would rather break up the couple than give Lin Jun a chance. But that was a bad idea when there was no other way. He didn't expect that Lin Jun, this idiot, would actually dare to boast about fixing the stargazing mirror in order to pick up girls, and Yu Er, this silly girl, would also believe him. Well, then don't blame Gongsun Du for being ruthless. If Lin Jun doesn't fix the stargazing mirror, then don't ever think about Yu Er. As for whether Lin Jun really had the possibility of fixing the stargazing mirror, Gongsun Du scoffed. That was simply a fantasy. Not to mention that Lin Jun couldn't do it, Gongsun Du couldn't do it either. No one in history had ever been able to do it. He and Su Mingyue walked onto the flying saucer. As soon as they entered, Su Mingyue's fragrant and soft body pounced over, burying her head in Lin Jun's arms, not saying a word. "Yu Er, we will meet again. I promise that day won't be long." And Su Mingyue nodded sullenly. Lin Jun felt a little wet in his chest. "Good Yu Er, let me see if you've cried like a cat with a dirty face." Lin Jun held Su Mingyue's pretty face and gently kissed her seductive red lip. Su Mingyue's body trembled as she hugged Lin Jun's neck and clumsily responded. Her lilac scent was hidden, and the taste was incomparably sweet. A minute later, Su Mingyue once again leaned on Lin Jun's chest. No matter what Lin Jun said, she wouldn't let him kiss her again. Lin Jun knew that she was thin-skinned. If it wasn't for the fact that they were about to part, he wouldn't have succeeded so easily. He gently stroked her hair and felt a little emotional. This peerless, enchanting woman was actually Lin Jun's girlfriend. This matter didn't happen in Lin Jun's plan after his rebirth, but since it happened, Lin Jun must protect it well. "Yu Er, if you miss me in the future, you can give me a call. Now that the communication between the base cities has been restored, it's very convenient to contact each other online." "I will." Su Mingyue took out her phone. Both hers and Lin Jun's phones had just been charged on the flying saucer. She only had 2 contacts in her phone, one was her master, and the other was Lin Jun. She was still a little clumsy as she typed in Lin Jun's name. Clearly, she wasn't familiar with it. "Lin Jun, let's take a picture." Lin Jun nodded and snuggled up with Su Mingyue. Both of them took out their phones. In the camera, Lin Jun was smiling and looking handsome. Su Mingyue's hair was tied up as she held onto Lin Jun's arm. She gently leaned her head on Lin Jun's shoulder. She was still a pear blossom in the rain and her face was blushing. She was so beautiful that it was like a dream. Gotcha. Chapter 211. After parting ways with Su Mingyue, Lin Jun first treated his injuries and stayed in the hospital for 3 days. After recovering, he went to a hotel in Beijing and sat cross-legged on the bed, fiddling with a pile of stuff on the bed. This time, Lin Jun's harvest from the stellar fruit tree could only be described as bountiful. Recalling the shocked expression on the bank teller's face when she withdrew money from the bank counter and transferred the money over, Lin Jun felt like laughing. Lin Jun had transferred all the money from the bank cards he got from Brother Guang to his own card. The password on the paper given by Brother Guang was also correct. The total amount of money was really 30 billion, which was somewhat out of Lin Zhen's expectation. In addition to these, Lin Zhen also sold all the insect crystals he got from the stellar fruit tree to the Ministry of Science and Technology of Beijing Bay City for a total of 2.8 billion. Together with the original money in Lin Zhen's card, the total amount in his card now exceeded 43 billion. This was not including the thick stack of bills in his hand. Lin Zhen had counted the bills. There were 220 bills in total, and the total amount was 110 billion. According to Lin Zhen's plan, he would stay in Beijing for a few days. He had just ordered the vitality potion, and it would be delivered soon. After he received it, he would exchange it for more than 100 billion before returning to Bingqing. Lin Zhen had just laid down and was about to call home when his phone rang. He picked up the phone and saw that the caller was Zhao Liang. When the call connected, Lin Zhen said happily, "Brother Zhao, long time no see." However, Zhao Liang on the other side of the phone seemed to be very anxious. "Lin Zhen, I really got through. You are out of the Divine General Training Camp." "Yes, I just got out a few days ago." "Brother Zhao, how did you know I was out?" "Brother Lin, you're still in the dark, aren't you? It's getting heated up." "Brother Zhao, what happened? Why are you in such a hurry?" Sigh. Today, the head of the gym called Gym Master Dongfang, and the two of them quarreled over the phone for some reason. After that, Gym Master Dongfang was removed from his position. Now, Gym Master Dongfang is Tong Yuehu. Hearing this, Lin Zhen felt a chill in his heart. Yu Zhenhua had acted so quickly. Lin Zhen didn't need to ask to know the reason why Dongfang Jun was taken down. It was definitely because Dongfang Jun didn't agree to the order to chase away Lin Zhen, which was why Yu Zhenhua removed him from his position. The current dojo master was the original deputy dojo master Tong Yuehu. Lin Zhen did not have a good impression of this person. He was the uncle of that Shintu Hua. Regardless of character or temperament, there was a world of difference between him and Dongfang Jun. Zhao Liang continued. Dojo Master Dongfang Jun did not accept Yu Zhenhua's new appointment. Instead, he took the initiative to leave Gale. He has already left. That Tong Yuehu is currently organizing the elders to study the problem. It seems like he wants to chase you out of the dojo. Lin Zhen muttered to himself for a moment, so be it. I don't care. Brother, it seems like you really don't understand the situation. Right now, among the war gods, it is absolutely impossible to not have a dojo as a backing. Those war gods who are lone rangers are unable to obtain the certification of the War God Alliance, and you are unable to obtain the certification. There are too many things that are inconvenient. For example, if you are a lone ranger, you are not allowed to enter the ancient god ruins. Moreover, if there is a martial arts competition, you cannot participate without certification. In short, it is a simple sentence. Without certification, you will not be able to enjoy the treatment of a war god. Therefore, you must have a dojo. Lin Zhen naturally knew about these things. He said indifferently, "If this place does not accept me, there will naturally be a place for me. Gale is not the only dojo. I can always find a place to stay." Sigh, it would be great if it was that simple. Now, the Ares Alliance only recognizes the top 10 war gods in Bing City. Headmaster Dongfang has been doing very well in Bing City for the past few years. Now, Lai Feng is the #1 dojo in Bing City. There are many war gods in Lai Feng, and their influence is far above Changfeng and Tulong. If Lai Feng chases you away, the other dojos won't dare to accept you. Moreover, Changfeng and Tulong have a grudge against you. Tong Yuehu has already communicated with them. Hearing this, Lin Zhen realized the seriousness of the problem. Yu Zhenhua was really ruthless. He actually used his status as the Gale Dojo Master to handle this matter. With just one sentence from him, no dojo would be willing to offend him because of Lin Zhen. If the top 10 dojos did not accept him, then Lin Zhen would not be able to obtain the certification of Bing City's God of War Alliance. It would be inconvenient for him to do anything in the future. Zhao Liang continued, also, if you are chased out of the dojo, your family will not be able to continue living in the villa district. These are all problems. If you have time, try to come back. It is a bit chaotic here. Okay, I will go back tomorrow. Lin Zhen immediately agreed. Okay, I will let you know if there is any news. After hanging up the call with Zhao Liang, Lin Zhen stood up. Although the injury on his shoulder had not healed, he could not wait any longer. First, he called home. The person who answered the phone was his father, Lin Zhen. After hearing that it was Lin Zhen, his mother, Li Qin, ran over and asked about Lin Zhen. In the end, Lin Zhen told them that he would be returning home tomorrow. Lin Zhen did not want them to worry about him as his injuries had not healed. Although he could not fight now, he could still move around. His mother, Li Qin, also asked Lin Zhen if he had a girlfriend and when he was going to give them a grandchild. Lin Zhen thought of Su Mingyue, but he didn't tell his parents. Su Mingyue's situation was still complicated, so he didn't tell them for the time being. Li Qin told Lin Zhen that she had her eyes on someone and would introduce her to him when he was back. Lin Zhen replied vaguely. These were not a big deal. The problem was that no dojo would accept him after he was chased out of the dojo. Lin Zhen took out his phone and started to check Bing City's martial artist forum. It had been a few years since he last checked the forum. The forum had become more lively, and there were a few headlines that caught Lin Zhen's attention. Changing of Lifeng Dojo's owner. Dongfang Jun was chased out by the headquarters. Tong Yuehu will take over. Lifeng destroyed itself. I strongly support the reinstatement of Dongfang Jun. Internal news. Dongfang Jun was dismissed because of Lin Zhen. Tong Yuehu was ordered to chase Lin Zhen out of Lifeng. Affected by the fall of the Cape Town-based city, the World War God Alliance is going to be merged. The War God Arena will be held in a few days to determine the ranking of countries. Countries around the world are holding internal selections. In all the major base cities of Huaxia, all the war gods recommended by the military, the government, the church, and the top 10 martial arts schools can participate. Lin Zhen did not expect the news to spread so quickly. The current situation was similar to the internet era in the Christian era. News was everywhere, and nothing could be hidden from people. He clicked on a random post. It was about Dongfang Jun being dismissed because of him. After clicking on it, there were all kinds of comments. I support Tong Yuehu. He has contributed a lot to Liefeng's development. Dongfang Jun is stubborn and should have been taken down long ago. Lin Zhen is just a fuse. Please explain, who is Lin Zhen? I support the statement on the first floor. Master Tong is mighty. Lin Zhen is just a clown. Maybe some newcomers don't know him, but he did make some noise in Bingqing a few years ago. In recent years, he joined the Divine General Training Camp and disappeared. I can't stand him for a long time. Inside information, Lin Zhen seems to have gotten jealous over a woman in the Divine General Training Camp and killed someone after drinking. This time, the other party was targeting him. Dongfang Jun bent the law to protect Lin Zhen, but in the end, he was smashed with a spoon. I'll say it weakly. Doesn't anyone remember what Lin Zhen did 3 years ago? What's the use of remembering? In this world, the god of war is the king. There are many warriors and generals who have made a name for themselves. Unfortunately, they are all fleeting clouds. Didn't you see that in the God of War Alliance, a country's ranking in the God of War Alliance depends on the strength of the God of War? When Lin Zhen saw this, he did not continue reading. He checked a few people who were particularly ruthless about him. In the end, he found that some of their IP addresses were from Beijing, while others were from Gale. Without a doubt, Yu Zhenhua wanted to completely ruin his reputation. Leaving Lifeng was irreversible. Lin Zhen called Dongfang Jun first. After all, Lin Zhen had implicated him in this matter. Unfortunately, Dongfang Jun's phone was turned off. He didn't know what he was doing. Lin Jun looked at the current ranking of Bingqing Bay City on the internet. The current top 3 were still the same: Lifeng, Chongfeng, and Tulong. There were some slight changes to the next few dojos, but the overall change was not big. Among them, Guangying Dojo was ranked 9th, and Azure Sky, which was once popular, had now fallen to the 10th place. When they recruited a few Russian disciples, Azure Sky had once squeezed into the top 3. However, after Lin Jun killed those Russians, Azure Sky had become a target of scorn in Bingqing. Almost no one was willing to join them, and their business was getting worse. In the past few years, although Yang Jianying, the dojo owner of Azure Sky, had been doing charity to restore their reputation, there was still not much improvement. Almost no one wanted to join them, especially the powerful god of war experts. The main focus of a dojo was the god of war, and the people's focus was also the god of war. There were legends about the god of war everywhere. In people's minds, only the god of war was the real strong. Warriors and generals could not make a big splash. After 3 years, Azure Sky Dojo had fallen to the 10th place. Lin Jun looked at the dojo he was in his previous life and sighed. His rebirth had changed many things, and Azure Sky was one of them. After looking at it for a while, Lin Jun couldn't think of which dojo would want to accept him. He could only think about it when he returned to Bingqing. At this time, the vitality potion that Lin Jun had bought arrived. After receiving it, Lin Jun was about to close the website when he saw another message. Lifeng Dojo owner Yu Zhenhua has signed a letter to invest in charity. He will donate 10 billion and will personally attend the donation event. His act of kindness has won the support of the people. On the screen, Yu Zhenhua had just walked out of Lifeng Dojo. He was wearing a black suit. It seemed that he had recovered from the pain of losing his son. Chapter 212. The Zephyr Dojo was the undisputed #1 dojo in Beijing headquarters city. It was located in the center of the city and occupied a large area. It had over 1,000 members, among which there were over 100 war god experts. Every time something happened in the Zephyr Dojo, it would attract a lot of attention from the media. For example, today, the head of the Zephyr Dojo, Yu Zhenhua, announced that he had removed the head of the Zephyr Dojo, Dongfang Jun, from his position. This caused a lot of speculation on the internet. While this matter was still being discussed, Yu Zhenhua announced that he would donate 10 billion to charity. This matter immediately attracted the attention of the media. Many reporters rushed over to interview him. Yu Zhenhua also accepted the interview. He was standing in front of the Zephyr Dojo. He was wearing a suit. The wound on his back caused by Lin Jun was still burning with pain, but he still stood in front of the crowd and spoke frankly. Because of the Godly General Training Camp's confidentiality system, the things that happened there wouldn't be leaked to the outside world. Head Yu, why did you remove Dongfang Jun from his position? Is there any personal grudge between you two? Head Yu, according to the internet, your son hasn't been able to leave the Godly General Training Camp. He has already been in the camp for 7 to 8 years. Did something happen? Head Yu, can you answer the internet rumor? Some people say that your removal of Dongfang Jun is related to your son. Apparently, he is already dead. At this time, Yu Zhenhua took out a handkerchief and wiped the corner of his eyes. This action by a man in his 50s immediately confirmed everyone's guess. First, I would like to ask everyone to forgive my loss of composure. My son, Yu Feng, did indeed die in the Godly General Training Camp. Moreover, he died in my arms. As a father, I'm sure everyone can understand my feelings. The reporters all nodded, expressing their sympathy and pity. However, it was clear that there was more to this story. However, because of the training camp's confidentiality system, I can't reveal the details of the situation there. I also can't reveal the name of the murderer. Everyone can find out through various channels. I just want to tell everyone that good and evil will eventually be rewarded. Our Zephyr Dojo will donate 10 billion to the families of the dead fighters to prove our attitude. The reporters took notes one after another. It seemed that there was a story behind Yu Zhenhua's words. However, the donation of 10 billion yuan did give him a lot of points, which was enough to win the support of many people. Yu Zhenhua's donation was prepared for the families of the deceased martial artists. These martial artists had died in all kinds of battles. Because they had lost their source of income, many of these martial artists' families had gone from prosperity to decline. Some were even retaliated against by their enemies. The lives of these ordinary people were very miserable, and many of them were even homeless. For example, some martial artists' children would become orphans after losing their parent. Some martial artists' parents would lose their children and have no one to support them. These were all problems that martial artists were worried about. Yu Zhenhua's actions had undoubtedly attracted the support of a large number of martial artists. Although 10 billion might not be able to solve all problems, it could still warm their hearts. Many comments on the internet started to support Yu Zhenhua, and Gale's reputation was also rising. This was the effect that Yu Zhenhua wanted to achieve. Yu Zhenhua spoke with assurance. The signing ceremony for the donation was about to begin. As long as it was signed, Yu Zhenhua had to pay this sum of money. At this moment, a staff member suddenly rushed over and gestured to Yu Zhenhua. Yu Zhenhua apologized to the reporters, then walked to the corner and asked the person, "What's the matter? Can't you see that I'm busy?" "Master, bad news. Lin Zhen is here." "He's here? What is he doing here? Who is he with?" Yu Zhenhua's eyes suddenly widened. "He came with some people from the Martial Arts Union. He said that he wants our Gale Martial Arts School to honor the IOU that the young master personally wrote. It's the 500 million. This bastard actually has an IOU. Is it necessary to bring people from the Martial Arts Union for such a small amount of money? Will I go back on my word because of this? However, this matter can't be made public. It's just 500 million. You go and deal with it." "Master, it's not that simple. Lin Zhen's hand is not a IOU. If it's not a IOU, how many are there? Are there 10? Give him 5 billion, give him 10 billion. The people from the Martial Arts Union are here. It's impossible to go back on your word. Gale's reputation cannot be ruined. Why are you hemming and hawing? Didn't you see that the signing ceremony is still waiting for me to attend? My dismissal of Dongfang Jun's position has caused some doubt. Right now, I urgently need to restore my reputation. I don't have time to grind my teeth with you here." The staff member braced himself and said, "A total of 200 IOU. So what if it's 200? Isn't it just? How much do you want?" Yu Zhenhua suddenly jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. 200 IOU, a total value of 100 billion. It's now in the hall of the martial arts school waiting to be exchanged. He also said that if the money is not transferred to him within half an hour, he will call the reporters outside in. Yu Zhenhua's head was sweating profusely. He knew about the IOU that Yu Feng wrote. Yu Feng also said that he would find a way to take it back soon. However, after Yu Feng died, no one came to collect the money. Yu Zhenhua forgot about this. He didn't expect that these IOU were basically in Lin Zhen's hands. This was bad. 100 billion was not 10 million. Although Lai Feng was now the #1 martial arts school, the liquid capital on the books was not more than 100 billion. Lin Zhen's drastic measures were fatal. What should we do? The people from the Martial Arts Union are here. If we don't pay, they can forcefully freeze our property auction. If the reporters find out, our Lai Feng will face an existential crisis. Yu Zhenhua anxiously paced around on the ground. Finally, he said to the staff member, "How much money do we have on the books now?" 80 billion. Excluding the 100 billion for Lin Zhen, we still need 10 billion for donations outside. We still need 30 billion. We must send Lin Zhen away immediately. I will call to borrow money now. Yu Zhenhua took out his phone and began to look for friends to borrow money. However, the process of borrowing money did not go smoothly. Although the public did not know about the Divine General Training Camp, it was almost no secret to people at Yu Zhenhua's level. People were dissatisfied with Yu Zhenhua's actions. When they heard that he wanted to borrow money, many people shook their heads and refused. Yu Zhenhua begged for money for a long time. In the end, he even found a bank to mortgage the money. Fortunately, the bank loans were very fast now. In half an hour, he had collected 30 billion. The staff hurried over and transferred 100 billion to Lin Zhen. Yu Zhenhua did not want to see Lin Zhen's proud face. He told the staff to go to the front hall immediately after transferring the money. He still needed to use the remaining 10 billion. After that, he turned around and left. After the staff transferred 100 billion to Lin Zhen, he did not expect that Lin Zhen would take out another 20 IOU and ask Lai Feng to pay the remaining 10 billion immediately. When the money was transferred, the balance was shown. Lai Feng's account still had 10 billion. Under the supervision of the Martial Arts Union, the staff had no choice but to transfer the remaining 10 billion to Lin Zhen. Lin Zhen took the money and said goodbye to the Martial Arts Union. He asked the Martial Arts Union to supervise the payment of 1% of the transaction. For this, Lin Zhen also paid 1 billion. However, Lin Zhen did not care. The staff ran to the front hall with sweat all over his forehead. When he saw Yu Zhenhua about to sign the document, he hurried over and told him the cruel truth. Lai Feng's account had no money. Not only did he have no money, but he also owed the bank 30 billion. This was a huge hole. When the reporters saw Yu Zhenhua coming back, they began to applaud enthusiastically. Countless cameras were aimed at him, waiting for the moment when he signed the document. At this moment, Yu Zhenhua felt that the pen in his hand weighed 1,000 pounds. He did not expect Lin Zhen to play such a trick with him. If he signed the document and swiped the card on the spot, there would be no money. What would happen? Wouldn't that make people laugh their heads off? What should I do? What should he do? Yu Zhenhua thought quickly. It was impossible to borrow 10 billion now, and the bank would not continue to lend him the loan. The only way was to renege on the debt. Thinking of this, Yu Zhenhua, who had been weighing the pros and cons for a long time, finally made up his mind. He put down the pen and said, "I think we need to reconsider our donation. Martial artists are rich. Even if they leave, their family life should not be difficult. I think the homeless people on the street need help more than them, so Lai Feng has decided to reconsider the donation direction." As soon as he said this, the faces of many martial artists present changed. "Yu Zhenhua, what do you mean? Are you going to ignore what you said? Are those homeless people more in need of financial support than those families who have lost their martial artist relatives? Yu Zhenhua, you are a martial artist and the dojo master of Lai Feng. This is a farce. Oh my God, the dojo master of Lai Feng went back on his word. This is going to make the headlines. You are Lai Feng Bull. You are the #1 martial arts dojo. Although I am not qualified to join Lai Feng, I will not join you as long as you are the dojo master here." The martial artists present were filled with righteous indignation. The reporters were so excited that they kept taking pictures and recording. This matter was too sensational. They must broadcast it as soon as possible. Yu Zhenhua's face turned red and white. He had no choice. Otherwise, who would do such a thing? He wanted to leave on the spot. At this time, Lin Zhen suddenly walked in front of the reporters and said, "Everyone, I sympathize with the families of the martial artists who have lost their loved ones. The martial artists risked their lives to hunt mutated beasts outside to surround their homes. We can't let them have any more worries, so I have decided to donate to these martial artists' families. The amount is 30 billion. When Lin Zhen raised 3 fingers, the reporters and martial artists present were in an uproar. "May I ask who you are? Are you a martial artist of Lai Feng?" A reporter rushed to ask. Yu Zhenhua said loudly from behind, "Yes, I was just joking with everyone just now. This person is a martial artist of Lai Feng. His name is Lin Zhen, and he is from Ice City. He is a member of Lai Feng. Everyone can check it out. In Yu Zhenhua's opinion, Lin Zhen should be trying to reconcile with him. Fine, I will give you some face first. After this, I will deal with you. Chapter 213. The place that Lin Zhen wanted to donate to had a name. It was called the Martial Artist Charity Relief Fund. The other party's people were waiting at the scene. Because Yu Zhenhua went back on his word, the people from the fund almost left in anger. But unexpectedly, Lin Zhen came out and negotiated the agreement in just a few moments. Lin Zhen waved his pen and wrote his name on the contract. The 30 billion transfer was immediately transferred to his account. From the beginning to the end of the donation, Lin Zhen took less than 5 minutes. Lin Zhen turned around and wanted to leave, but he was immediately surrounded by reporters. Hello, Lin Zhen. I'm a reporter from the Beijing Morning Post. Why did you make such a big move? Lin Zhen, you said that you were kicked out of the Zephyr Martial Arts School. What's the story? Does it have anything to do with Dojo Master Yu Zhenhua? I heard that you also came out of the Divine General Training Camp. Why did you donate at this time? Why didn't you come out on behalf of the Zephyr Martial Arts School? Do you have something against the Zephyr Martial Arts School? Lin Zhen stood there and smiled. I just want to say a few things to everyone. First, I didn't leave the Zephyr Martial Arts School voluntarily. The Zephyr Martial Arts School didn't want me. You can check what I've done for the Zephyr Martial Arts School over the years and what kind of treatment I've received. Secondly, this donation is purely my personal idea. Martial artists are fighting outside to protect their homes and countries. Their lives are hanging on their belts, and they are in a precarious situation. Their loved ones cannot live without a basic living guarantee. I hope that this 30 billion can be put to good use. There's one more thing. If I were still in the Zephyr Martial Arts School, I wouldn't donate because my identity restricts me. I don't want to represent the Zephyr Martial Arts School. As for why I said this, Dojo Master Yu Zhenhua's action just now has explained everything, hasn't it? At this point, Lin Zhen took 2 steps out of the crowd and went straight to the street. Soon, he disappeared into the crowd. When his figure was about to disappear, a martial artist present took the initiative to applaud Lin Zhen. Then other martial artists, then the reporters, and finally even the people of the Zephyr Martial Arts School applauded Lin Zhen. This was a true martial artist, a person worthy of respect. When the applause stopped, people looked back, but they could no longer find Yu Zhenhua's figure. However, this wasn't a big deal. The reporters would use this as a pretext to write about it. It could be imagined that the internet, television, newspapers, etc. would be very lively tomorrow. Yu Zhenhua was too ashamed to stay in the front. What happened today was too ugly. Not only did he lose face, but he also discredited the Gale Martial Arts School. When he returned to his room, he sat down on a chair and stared blankly at the ceiling. He did not know how things had turned out like this. Ding ling ling. The phone rang. Yu Zhenhua took out his phone and looked at it. He was shocked because the person who called was Chen Fenglai. Mr. Chen. The phone came with a video feed. Chen Fenglai's figure appeared on the other end. Zhenhua, do you want to destroy the Fierce Wind Martial School? Chen Fenglai was sitting on a rocking chair in a blue casual outfit. A faint sentence made Yu Zhenhua break out in a cold sweat. No, Mr. Chen, listen to me. What happened today was an accident, say no more. Great Divinity Master Gong Sun Du told me about it. You lost your mind for your good-for-nothing son and did stupid things time and time again. You have disappointed me. The sentence made Yu Zhenhua realize that something was wrong. He had followed Chen Fenglai for many years and knew Chen Fenglai's temperament. If he said he was disappointed, then he was really disappointed. It was very likely that he would not give Yu Zhenhua another chance. However, Yu Zhenhua still wanted to fight for it. Mr. Chen, I was wrong this time. I hope you can give me a chance to make up for my mistakes. Zhenhua, you have to remember that as a cultivator, you can't let your emotions get the better of you. If you focus on cultivation and advance to the star realm as soon as possible, you can have hundreds of sons, let alone one. At that time, you'll realize that the death of your son isn't a bad thing. Yu Zhenhua nodded repeatedly, but he did not agree with Chen Fengli's words. He was not a genius like Chen Fengli. The star realm was almost his limit. Besides, now that he had Lin Zhen, his inner demon, he would not have the chance to advance to the star realm if he did not get rid of Lin Zhen. Of course, he could not say these words in front of Chen Fengli. Yu Zhenhua did not have the courage to speak to the world's #1 expert. This time, Fierce Wind is in a very passive position. I have already deposited 50 billion into his account. Take advantage of it. I will give you a chance. You know about the Cape Town incident, right? Yes, Cape Town has fallen. Yes. Now, China, the African Union, Brazil, India, and other countries have proposed to join the World War God Alliance. If the other 3 countries do not agree, the 4 of us will join the alliance. Therefore, the proposal has been passed. The War God martial artists will hold the War God arena to determine the ranking of each country in the World War God Alliance. This time we, Fierce Wind, will protect our reputation. Mr. Chen, please rest assured that we, Fierce Wind, will definitely take first place. I also believe in the strength of the Fierce Wind martial artists, but we can't be careless. The War God Arena is open to all war gods from level 1 to level 9. Those in the Star Realm are not allowed to participate. We have to fully explore talent. When I put you in this position, I saw your ability in this aspect. However, you actually drove away such an outstanding talent like Lin Zhen. You are really a bastard. Yu Zhenhua wiped the sweat from his forehead. Dojo Master, please rest assured. Even without Lin Zhen, I guarantee that Fierce Wind will still be the most outstanding Fierce Wind. Chen Fengli did not say much. He originally wanted Yu Zhenhua to invite Lin Zhen back, but after thinking that it was impossible for him to sincerely invite Lin Zhen, he temporarily gave up and hung up the phone. Yu Zhenhua then sat down awkwardly. He had no time to care about Lin Zhen for the time being. After Lin Zhen left Fierce Wind, he immediately went to a nearby trading company. This trading company was specially opened to martial artists. The area where Fierce Wind Martial Arts School was located was a special area for martial artists. This trading company sold everything. Lin Zhen had already set his eyes on a type of flying device. In order to return to Ice City quickly, Lin Zhen needed his own flying device. Now that the flying saucer-type flying device was gradually entering the market, some especially rich martial artists had started to try to buy it. However, there was a top-notch flying device, the Black Ghost, which very few people could afford. There were only 10 of them in the country, and each one was sold for 10 billion. As a flying device, it was a little too expensive. If it was in the past, Lin Zhen would not buy it. However, this time, he did not hesitate and paid for a Black Ghost on the spot. This flying device was about 20 meters in diameter and was shaped like a flying saucer. There was an automatic flight control system inside, and it was said that it could reach a maximum altitude of 50,000 meters, almost breaking out of the atmosphere. Its speed of 10 times the speed of sound made it impossible for any mutant birds to catch up with it. It also had its own cloaking device and atomization device. The so-called atomization device was to spray clouds and disguise itself as a cloud. It could hover in the clouds without being discovered. The smell of the atomization could also drive away mutant birds. The flying saucer had its own railgun, which could be used to attack other flying devices. There was also a global satellite positioning system inside, which could receive radio stations from any country. The network signal would not be affected by the local environment. This flying device represented the highest level of flying devices on Earth. As far as Lin Zhen knew, until the arrival of extraterrestrial civilization, there was no flying device that could surpass his. There was also a very important point. The interspatial ring that Lin Zhen got from Yufeng could actually store this flying device. The interspatial ring was a little bigger than a basketball court, and its volume was also very large. It only took about 1/3 of the space to store the flying device, which was simply too convenient. First, he bought the 40 billion vitality potion, then donated 30 billion, then bought the 10 billion black ghost. He had spent more than 80 billion in total, which made Lin Zhen secretly happy. In addition to the black ghost, Lin Zhen also found 15 kilograms of liquid metal, which was worth 6 billion. Lin Zhen did not hesitate to buy all of it. He only had about 35 kilograms of liquid metal in his hands before. Now that he had 15 kilograms, he had a total of 50. It was basically enough for everything. With more than 50 billion in his hands, Lin Zhen was not short of money. After buying the black ghost, Lin Zhen took off and left on the spot. The flying device's built-in system would automatically contact the base city's air defense army and receive infrared scanning. When Lin Zhen left Beijing, the army scanned the flying device and immediately let him go. As long as the person inside was not a wanted criminal, the army would not stop him. The distance between Beijing and Bingqing was more than 1,000 kilometers, and the black ghost could reach it in half an hour. Looking at Beijing gradually fading away, Lin Zhen sat in the black ghost and let out a long sigh. This time, he had given Yu Zhenhua a hard slap, but he had also offended him. After returning to Bingqing, the most important thing was to find a martial arts school. He did not know where he could be accepted. There was also a Ning. Lin Zhen had always liked a Ning, and a Ning was very good to him. A Ning was the one who gave him the Psychic Shock secret manual. However, Su Mingyue had risked her life to save him many times. How could Lin Zhen not be moved? He did not know how to explain this to a Ning. He was not willing to give up a Ning. Lin Zhen never wanted to let down someone who was good to him. However, it was even more impossible for him to give up on Su Mingyue. That girl looked cold and aloof, but in fact, she was stubborn. Otherwise, she would not have died fighting against the invaders in his previous life. If Lin Zhen really left her, she might do something stupid. After thinking about it for a while, Lin Zhen did not want to think about it anymore. If he could not deal with these two girls after his rebirth, then he would have lived in vain. He cultivated his telekinesis in the black ghost's cabin for a while. The scenery on the ground gradually enlarged, and Bingqing finally appeared in his sight. Chapter 214. Jiangbei Villa District. The black wraith hovered above Lin Zhen's villa, immediately attracting the attention of countless people. Many people in the surrounding villas took pictures with their phones and uploaded the images to the internet. This was the first time the black wraith appeared in Bingqing City. First, it was expensive and very few people could afford it. Second, it had just been released and was not available in Bingqing City. When Lin Zhen bought it, this model had only been released for half a month. The flying saucer glided slowly and landed in the small square in front of the villa. Lin Zhen walked out from it. With a wave of his hand, the black wraith disappeared into the spatial ring. Lin Zhen walked back home. On the way, some people saw Lin Zhen but did not recognize him. After all, he had disappeared for 3 years. Many of the neighbors in the villa district had changed. Some people recognized Lin Zhen but didn't say anything. Now that the news of Lin Zhen being banished by Lai Feng had spread like wildfire, a martial artist who didn't even have a dojo probably didn't have any future prospects. It was better not to talk to him. Lin Zhen opened the door. The smell of food wafted out from the house. After not coming back for 3 years, Lin Zhen took a deep breath. The smell of home was still the best. "Dad! Mom! I'm back!" Lin Zhen shouted. Hearing Lin Zhen's voice, footsteps came from the kitchen. Li Qin ran out first. When she saw Lin Zhen, she immediately went over and hugged Lin Zhen tightly. "My son is finally back. Mom missed you so much." Lin Zhen pretended to be calm as he walked out. However, he almost bumped into the door. He was also very happy that Lin Zhen was back. "Look at you, my child. You've been gone for 3 years without any news. You should at least give us a call. You've made me and your father worry. Hurry up and wash up. Look at you. You've lost so much weight. Mom will reward you later. Lin Jun had indeed lost some weight in the past few years. It was mainly because the food in the stellar fruit tree was too bad. After 3 years of eating hardtack and dried meat, it was impossible not to lose weight. Then I'll go pack up. The main thing is that I can't call you guys from that place. Lin Jun returned to his room and took out 2 new sets of clothes. Then, he took some toiletries and went to the bathroom. After taking a good shower, he changed his clothes and looked at himself in the mirror. He nodded with satisfaction. His spirit was different from his previous life. He also looked much more handsome than in his previous life. After walking out of the bathroom, Lin Jun went to the kitchen. He saw his dad. He immediately gave his dad a hug. Dad, I like the smell of your cooking. Your cooking. Shoo, shoo, shoo. You're already so big, yet you're still sticking to me. Aren't you ashamed? Go stick to your mother. Don't disturb my cooking. Let me try this prawn. Looking at the big red prawns cooked by her father, Lin Jun was really a little hungry. She reached out to grab one to try. Sigh. It's not even ripe yet. Hurry up and scram. Lin Jun smiled and retreated to the kitchen door. He waved his hand and a prawn flew over. He didn't care if it was hot or not. He ate it. Brat, you're even using that skill of yours at home. Lin Lia laughed as he spoke. Lin Jun walked out of the kitchen. Mom was setting the table and chairs. Lin Jun went to help. Son, in the 3 years that you weren't around, that Miss Lee came by many times. Are you two dating? When I asked her, she was too embarrassed to say, but Mom could tell that she likes you. She's also pretty and quite compatible with you. Tell Mom, how long have you been dating? Lin Jun was confused. Which little Miss Lee? Don't play dumb with me. Isn't she our old neighbor, Li Mengshi? When you were young, you liked to stick to her. Li Mengshi. Lin Jun was stunned. Then, he narrowed his eyes. What was this woman trying to do? No matter what her purpose was, if she wanted to get something from his family, then she was wrong. However, Lin Jun's mother was relentless with her questions. Lin Jun couldn't tell her about the matters between warriors, so he could only helplessly say, Mom, you don't have to worry about my future. I have a girlfriend. When I have the chance in the future, I will bring her back for you to meet. You really have a girlfriend? Whose girl is it? What does she look like? She can't not be as good as Mengshi. Nowadays, genes are important. In short, the better the parents are, the better the child will be in the future. My son is so handsome. It won't be good if he finds a girl who is ugly. Forget it. I don't think she can be better than Mengshi. It's better to be safe. You are always running around outside. I don't see you all year round. If you can give me and your dad a grandson, you can go wherever you want. Hearing his mother start nagging again, Lin Jun had to take out his phone. On the screen was a photo of him and Su Mingyue. Mom, look. This is my girlfriend, your future daughter-in-law. See if she is ugly. Li Qin took the phone and looked at it. She was stunned. Oh, this girl looks. She is too. Is she still human? What do you mean by not human? Lin Jun smiled bitterly. No, Mom means she is too beautiful. She doesn't look like a real person. Old man, come and see your son's girlfriend. Why does she look a little familiar? Lin Jun ran out of the kitchen. Li Qin handed him Lin Jun's phone. He looked at it for a long time. She is too beautiful, but I also think she looks familiar. She looks like... Li Qin suddenly pointed at a poster of the Church of God on the wall. Isn't that her? Lin Jun also noticed that there was a poster of the Church of God in his house. In the picture, Su Mingyue was wearing a priest's robe and bathed in light. She looked wholly like an angel, but it seemed to be 3 years old. Su Mingyue looked the same 3 years ago. This is the saintess of the Church of God. Is she your girlfriend? Li Qin asked in surprise. Yes. She is a saintess and a martial artist. We met in the Divine General's training camp. Lin Lia looked at the phone for a long time. Did you Photoshop this? Are you trying to fool us? How can she be interested in you? Lin Jin raised his head angrily. Is your son that bad? Fine, fine. I'll send you a video call and you'll know. Lin Jin took out his phone and video called Su Mingyue. Li Qin and Lin Jin were watching. Li Qin said to Lin Jin, "Don't include us in the video. We'll just watch secretly. Otherwise, she might feel uncomfortable." Lin Jin didn't put his parents in the camera's range. He knew what his parents were thinking. They just wanted to see if Su Mingyue was reliable. It was an internal test, but Lin Jin wasn't afraid of it. If Su Mingyue failed, no one would pass. The video call connected. On the other side of the video, Su Mingyue was sitting in front of a desk. Her long hair was tied behind her ears, as if she had just taken a shower. She was wearing a soft white dress. Under the orange light, she was extraordinarily beautiful. When she saw Lin Jin, she immediately smiled. "Idol, you're home. What are you doing?" Lin Jin hadn't seen Su Mingyue for a few days. He really missed her. "I'm reading a book." "What book?" Lin Jin asked. Su Mingyue picked up a book in the camera. It was called The Self-Cultivation of a Saintess. "Master told me to read this, but I've already read it hundreds of times. I don't want to read it anymore, so I secretly read this." She picked up another book. This one was called The Next Generation Cookbook. "You're secretly reading the cookbook. Are you thinking of cooking for me?" Lin Jin asked with a smile. "Yes. You're so greedy, so I want to learn how to cook for you in the future." Lin Jin sighed inwardly. This girlfriend of his who didn't know how to lie was really something. If it was any other girl, they might say something like, "I'm not cooking for you." But Su Mingyue wouldn't. She simply admitted it and even labeled herself as a greedy person. However, seeing Li Qin and Lin Lia laughing behind her, they were probably quite satisfied with this daughter-in-law. "Am I really that greedy?" Lin Jin defended himself. "You're still denying it. That day, you said you were going to eat me." Su Mingyue smiled and exposed Lin Jin. Lin Lia and Li Qin were shocked. Sweat appeared on Lin Jin's forehead. "That was a joke, a joke." "Yes, I know. Lin Jin, the Divine General battle is about to start. Have you signed up?" "I'll sign up." Lin Jin had a headache over this. "Okay, I've signed up. But I don't know when it'll start. I heard that I have to wear a virtual reality helmet." Su Mingyue paused. "When are you going to fix the stargazing mirror?" "I miss you a little." Su Mingyue's eyes were watery as she spoke. She bit her red lips and wanted someone to hug her and comfort her. "I'll try to be quick." Lin Jin saw that Li Qin was about to come over and talk. He quickly adjusted his angle. Su Mingyue was definitely not prepared for this, so it was better not to see her for the time being. "Bai Yuer. I'll bring you out of the church after I fix the stargazing mirror." Su Mingyue nodded and hung up the phone. "Brat, where's my daughter-in-law? Why didn't you let me see her? Is your mother so shameful? Can you stop messing around? Can't you tell what I mean? Your son wanted to eat her up, but obviously, he didn't get to eat her. That girl looks tender. You're scaring her by baring your teeth and brandishing your claws." "Who? Old man, who did you say was making threatening gestures?" Li Qin walked toward Lin Lia. Just then, the smell of burnt food came from the kitchen. Lin Lia quickly ran to the kitchen to escape. "Mom, you saw it this time. You won't ask me to find a girlfriend anymore." "I won't. This is enough. Haha. The saintess of the divine sect might be my future daughter-in-law. If I tell others, they'll be so jealous." Li Qin had already fallen into her fantasy. She originally wanted to ask Lin Jin about Su Mingyue, but the guard said that someone was looking for Lin Jin. His name was Zhao Liang. Chapter 215. Lin Jin let Zhao Liang and the others in. When his parents heard that Lin Jin's friends were here, they immediately prepared 2 more dishes. Zhao Liang and the others entered the house and greeted Lin Jin's parents first. Then, they all went to the study. As soon as they entered the study, Shirley said angrily, Tong Yuehu is a bastard. He actually kicked Lin Jin out. I knew this kid was up to no good. Lin Jin looked at the three of them. 3 years had passed, and they still hadn't reached the warlord realm. Shirley and Zhao Liang were 9th-level warlords, and Gao Yen was 8th-level warlord. Moreover, they didn't compress their Dantian Qi. The few experts from back then had already been left far behind by Lin Jin. Gao Yen continued, I think it's good that Lin Jin isn't in Lai Feng. Lin Jin, you were so cool when you donated money in Beijing. Now, many warriors are supporting you on the internet. Lin Jin, you Zhenhua really lost face this time. Many people are saying that Lai Feng isn't good. Lin Jin nodded. I hope this incident won't affect you guys. Zhao Liang waved his hand. Brother Lin, we've known each other for a few years. Don't be so polite. We aren't even warlords, so we won't be affected. The ones who will be affected are the higher-ups. You don't know that once your donation came out, Tong Yuehu immediately organized a meeting with the warlord. It seems like they're going to go all out to compete for the Divinity General Arena. Lin Jin asked, How will the Divinity General Arena compete? Have they figured out the rules yet? It's almost done. I heard that there will be 2 stages, the preliminaries and the knockout stage. It will use virtual technology. Any warlord recommended by a dojo, church, military, or base city can sign up. Every warlord who signs up will get a virtual helmet that connects their brainwaves to the virtual world. They can fight in the virtual world. That's right. I've also heard about the use of virtual technology. Moreover, this technology is connected to the entire world. At that time, not only will we be able to see China's war gods, we will also be able to see war gods from all over the world. However, we won't have that opportunity. Gao Yen smiled. That's right. The War God Arena this time is jointly organized by the 7 countries in the world. Not only will it determine the ranking of each country in the World War God Alliance, but there will also be generous rewards for the war gods who perform well. What reward? I hear it's an astral tool as a reward, and there are quite a lot of reward methods. It seems that passing through the preliminaries will have a reward. The higher the ranking in the knockout rounds, the greater the reward. The specific circumstances will only be known when the time comes. Hearing that there was an astral tool as a reward, Lin Jin's eyes immediately brightened. The higher the ranking, the more astral tools would be rewarded. He still had to participate in this War God Arena, and he just so happened to need them to repair the star observation mirror. Zhao Liang then said, Lin Jin, you don't have a dojo to recommend you right now, so you can't participate in the War God Arena. You need to immediately find another dojo. The deadline for registration is only 3 days. If you can't register, then it will be too much of a pity. Lin Jin shook his head. This dojo is not easy to find. Lai Feng chased me out, and normal dojos wouldn't dare to accept me. Perhaps Chong Feng and Dragon Slayer would, but these 2 dojos have a grudge against me. They can't wait to hit me when I'm down. How could they accept me? As for the military, government, and church, they all have to recommend their own people. I didn't join the military, nor did I participate in politics. I'm also not a member of the clergy. My status is not qualified, so it's even more impossible. Zhao Liang and the others were silent. They really couldn't help with this matter. Finally, Shirley thought about it and said, Lin Jin, I think there's a dojo that might accept you, but it depends on whether you're willing to go. Which dojo? Lin Jin asked. Jade Sky. After Shirley finished speaking, Zhao Liang paused for a moment. Jade Sky, the one that's ranked 10th? I don't think that's possible. That dojo has a bad reputation. Although they've been more honest in the past 2 years, that dojo still has a grudge against Lin Jin. How can they accept him? Shirley shook his head. You're wrong. Jade Sky might really accept Lin Jin. That dojo doesn't have any war god level experts other than Yang Jianying. They're also struggling to survive in Bingqing. They've already lost everything. Now, they're recruiting war gods everywhere, but no one wants to go. If Linjin goes, he might be a timely help. I believe that Yang Jianying won't be jealous of what happened in the past. After all, he also wants the dojo to have a good development. I think that the matter of recruiting Russians is understandable. Zhao Liang looked at Lin Jin. Brother Lin, what do you think? Lin Jin thought for a moment and nodded. I'll go. Why wouldn't I go? I'm all alone anyway. It doesn't matter which dojo I go to. What's important is that I want to participate. All right, since you've agreed, I'll contact them for you. Shirley patted his chest as he took on the responsibility. At this time, the meal downstairs was ready. Lin Jin invited a few old friends to drink together. Shirley and the others didn't come empty-handed. They brought a lot of ready-made delicious food and wine. The few of them ate with Lin Jin. Everyone enjoyed themselves to the fullest. During the meal, Lin Jin mentioned that he might need to move. Because he was no longer a member of Lai Feng, this mansion would be taken back in a few days. He needed to move to another place. Zhao Liang immediately told Lin Jin that there were many empty mansions in Jade Sky Dojo. If Lin Jin's matter was settled, he could move there. After the meal, Zhao Liang and the others said goodbye. Lin Jin returned to the living room and took out the vitality potion for his parent. Mom, Dad, drink these 2 bottles. I'll help you recuperate in the next few days. It will make you many years younger. You can even start practicing martial arts. Lin Lie and Li Qin looked at the vitality potion in disbelief. They didn't expect such a magical thing to exist in the world. In this era, almost everyone dreamed of becoming a martial artist. However, they didn't have the conditions to do so. They could only live the lives of ordinary people. They didn't expect that when they were old, their son would tell them that they could practice martial arts and even become a martial artist. How could they not be surprised? Li Qin said hesitantly, "Can we do it? I wanted to practice martial arts when I was young, but now I'm so old." Mom, don't worry. This bottle of potion can restore the vitality of human cells. After you drink it, although you won't become geniuses, I promise that you will be able to live young. However, you will also have to work hard. In the future, you won't be able to play mahjong or take a walk. You have to train hard. Lin Jin was right. Even if Lin Lie and Li Qin had him to take care of them and they didn't have to worry about a lot of resources, it still took a lot of hard work for a warrior to advance to the warlord stage. Seeing that Li Qin was still hesitating, Lin Lie grabbed a bottle of vitality potion. What are you hesitating for? Don't you want to live a few more years? Let's not talk about anything else. When your son gets married and has grandchildren in the future, you won't even be able to take care of them. I still want to accompany my grandchildren for a few more years. It would be best if I have many grandchildren in the future. For this, I'll drink this bottle of potion even if it's poison. After speaking, Lin Lie drank the vitality potion in one gulp. Upon hearing this, Li Qin's eyes immediately became firm. That's right. My daughter-in-law is so beautiful. If I go shopping with her in the future, she will compare me to an old woman. As her mother-in-law, I can't be too bad. It's just cultivation. For the sake of my daughter-in-law and grandson, I'll go all out. Li Qin also drank the vitality potion in one gulp. Upon hearing the reason why the 2 elders wanted to practice martial arts, Lin Jin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If it weren't for Su Mingyue, they probably wouldn't want to drink this potion. However, this was also good. At least this could strengthen their confidence in practicing martial art. They didn't need to have high achievements. As long as they could reach the realm and prolong their lifespan, that would be enough. After taking the vitality potion, Lin Jin and Li Qin's bodies began to change. As they grew older, their body functions would decline and their cells would fail. Now that they were injected with the potion, they began to regain their vitality. This process required someone to guide them. Therefore, Lin Jin closed the door to the house and didn't receive any visitors. He began to focus on taking care of his parent. Cell recovery was a painful process. Lin Jun originally thought that the two elders wouldn't be able to endure it. However, whenever his parents couldn't endure it any longer, they would comfort themselves by thinking of their daughter-in-law and grandson. They actually managed to endure the process. For 2 whole days, Lin Jun didn't leave the house. He focused on taking care of his parents. After 2 days, the potion was completely absorbed. The two elders had completely changed. Lin Lia's back was no longer bent and his hair was no longer white. Li Qin's leg ailment was also cured. The wrinkles on her skin had also disappeared. She looked almost 20 years younger. People would believe that she was less than 30 years old. Lin Jun looked at his father with a smile. "Dad, look at how young and handsome you are now. If we go out together, people will believe us if we tell them that you are my elder brother." "Brat, are you looking for a beating?" Although Lin Lia said that, he was still looking at himself in the mirror. He had never felt so good before. He felt that his whole body was filled with energy. He really wanted to practice martial arts now. Li Qin changed into a new set of clothes. She squeezed Lin Lia away and looked at herself in the mirror. "This is really like a dream. I seem to have returned to the time when I was in my 20s and still unmarried. Old man, don't you think I'm pretty?" "Pretty, you look like a fairy," Lin Lia complimented without any shame. In fact, Li Qin and Lin Jun were both good-looking. Otherwise, Lin Jun wouldn't be so handsome. Now that they had returned to their younger days, they were both good-looking. Li Qin twisted her body. "I don't dare to call myself a fairy. Only my future daughter-in-law is qualified. However, if we were to compare ourselves with the people we know, I still have the confidence to beat them. Do you think we should go out for a walk and see if there are still people who recognize us?" Lin Lia was also a little tempted. The old couple was so excited that they really went out for a walk. Lin Jun didn't want to dampen their spirits. After this, they would work hard to cultivate. Chapter 216. Lin Jun hadn't been to Millennium Time Bar for 3 years. The interior decoration hadn't changed much, and there were still many warriors here. In a corner of the hall on the first floor, Lin Jun and Yang Jianying were drinking opposite each other. Yang Jianying handed a document to Lin Jun. "Brother Lin, take a look. Azure Sky has nothing to offer now. We only have these conditions. If you agree, sign it and you will be a member of Azure Sky." Lin Jun took the document from Yang Jianying's hand and flipped through it a few times. There was nothing special about the document. The villa provided to Lin Jun was the largest and best in the entire Azure Sky. It was even much better than the one Lin Jun was living in now. However, the salary was pitifully low. It was only 500,000 yuan a month. This was even worse than an ordinary warlord's salary. It wasn't the treatment of a warlord at all. Yang Jianying said somewhat embarrassedly, "Brother Lin, I made a mistake back then and recruited a few Russians. Now my reputation is bad. The dojo is not well managed, and I don't have any businesses under me. Moreover, I know you are rich. You can spend a huge sum of 30 billion yuan in Beijing. You don't care about this salary," Lin Jun smiled. "I think it's good. Give the 500,000 yuan to my parents every month. Moreover, Brother Yang also gave me such a big villa. It's my duty. It's also a little compensation." Yang Jianying saw that Lin Jun agreed and quickly signed the contract. The contract took effect. Lin Jun was a little emotional. He was a warrior of Azure Sky in his previous life. He didn't expect to return to Azure Sky after going around in circles in this life. Yang Jianying took out her phone and called the registration office of the Warlord Alliance. "I'm Yang Jianying from Ice City Azure Sky. I'm registering the warlord of our dojo." Lin Jun. Yes, that's it." She hung up the phone. "Brother Lin, it's done. The time is just right. The registration will end an hour later. How many people signed up in our dojo?" The Jade Sky of this life was very different from the one Lin Jun knew in his previous life. There were almost no familiar faces here. "To tell you the truth, you're the only one who signed up for Jade Sky." Originally, I thought that if I couldn't find anyone in the end, I would have to do it myself. Sigh, fortunately you're here. Otherwise, I would have embarrassed myself. Yang Jianying was only an 8th grade war god. Moreover, she had the status of a dojo master. It was easy for others to criticize her for registering. If she didn't get a good result, it would be a great loss of face. Then does Dojo Master know that the rules of the War God Arena have been set? Yes, it's all on the internet. Linjun had been busy with his parents' affairs for the past few days, so he didn't see anyone. He didn't know what was happening on the internet, so he took out his phone to check. As expected, the rules of the War God Arena had already been set. All recommended war gods in the world could sign up. Everyone would get a virtual helmet and enter the virtual map to fight. The location of the virtual map was proposed by the Star God sect and decided upon by all the countries in the world. It was called the Garden of Heaven. According to the Star God sect's description, a true god was incomparably huge. The star fruit tree was only a small tree in his garden. The huahua grass was taller and more luxuriant than the primitive forests on Earth. Flying at high altitudes was prohibited in the garden. Even if you were a spirit reader, the highest flying distance was only 12 meters. This was to prevent spirit readers from taking shortcuts. When everyone entered the garden, they would randomly appear at the edge. The edge was a vast grassland with many mutated beasts. After crossing the grassland, one would enter a sea of flowers. There were countless dangers there. After crossing the sea of flowers, there was a small stream. Of course, the small stream here was a large river. It was also a very dangerous area. After crossing the large river, the warriors were close to the end of the virtual map. As long as they crossed the large river, they would reach the end of the virtual map, the Garden of Heaven. There were a total of 1,024 spots in the Garden of Heaven. Every war god could leave their name on a spot. After leaving their name, they passed the preliminaries and could leave the virtual map. There were also some gemstone fragments in the virtual map. They were divided into 3 types: ruby, sapphire, and topaz. 10 ruby fragments in the virtual map could be exchanged for a low-grade astral weapon. 10 sapphire fragments could be exchanged for a mid-grade astral weapon. 10 topaz fragments could be exchanged for a high-grade astral weapon. Even if they couldn't collect enough gemstone fragments to exchange for an astral weapon, they could be recycled. Ruby fragments could be recycled for 10 million each, sapphire fragments for 100 million each, and topaz fragments for 1 billion each. This was mainly to balance out the warriors who couldn't pass the preliminaries. If they didn't pass the preliminaries, they wouldn't be rewarded. If they could get some gemstone fragments, it would be a compensation for them. The 1024 warriors who passed the preliminaries would enter the knockout round. After the preliminaries, it wouldn't be long before the knockout round. Every round of the knockout round would give a reward. Entering the knockout round would give a low-grade astral weapon as a reward. Entering the top 512 would give 3 low-grade astral weapons as a reward. Entering the top 256 would give 5 low-grade astral weapons as a reward. Entering the top 128 would give 1 mid-grade astral weapon. Entering the top 64 would give 3 mid-grade astral weapons. Entering the top 32 would give 5 mid-grade astral weapons. Entering the top 16 would give 1 high-grade astral weapon. Entering the top 8 would give 3 high-grade astral weapons. Entering the top 4 would give 5 high-grade astral weapons. Entering the champion and runner-up would give 1 top-grade astral weapon. And the person who won the championship would obtain an additional best-grade astral tool. Of course, there was a time gap between the preliminaries and the knockout round. 3 months after the preliminaries, the knockout round would officially begin. And the preliminaries would start 3 months later. During this time, the War God Alliance would need to adjust the virtual world system and perfect the map. The fight starts 3 months later? Lin Jun looked at this rule and was secretly excited. If he could pass the preliminaries and enter the top 4, then he would almost certainly be able to collect 10 high-grade astral weapons. Yes, 1 month later. But forgive me for being blunt. Brother Lin, although your strength isn't bad, your realm is still a bit low. I know you're invincible in the warrior and general stages. But the war god world is different. The gap between a high-level war god and a low-level war god isn't small. Your current late-stage level 3 strength isn't enough. It's almost impossible to get a good ranking in the tournament. I'm afraid even passing the preliminaries would be a problem. Lin Jin nodded. Of course he knew this. A level 3 war god couldn't compete with high-level war gods. With Lin Jin's current strength, he could defeat a normal intermediate war god. He wasn't even afraid of elite war gods, but what about high-level war gods? Elite high-level war gods? From his point of view, let alone the current him, even if Yu Zhenhua, who was at the Star Realm, participated in this war god tournament, he wouldn't be able to become the champion. He might not even be able to enter the top 4. This was because in Lin Jin's memory, other countries had a few especially strong war gods. They would definitely stand out in this tournament. There were still 3 months before the preliminaries. After the preliminaries, there would be another 3 months before the elimination round. Lin Jin's current priority was to increase his strength and ensure that he could pass the preliminaries. But after reaching the war god realm, it wasn't that easy to increase his strength quickly. Lin Jin began to recall his memories from his previous life. Where could he go to make his strength increase by leaps and bounds? Yang Jianying saw that Lin Jin was thinking and didn't think too much about it. He only said to Lin Jin, "Brother, I won't say too much. Don't worry and just do your best. Since there aren't many people in Jade Sky right now, I still think highly of your potential. Even if you didn't perform well in this War God tournament, you will definitely have a shocking performance in the future." "Thank you, Dojo Master." "Don't mention it, Dojo Master. I'll be leaving now. The helmet will be sent to your home tomorrow. You just have to wear it on time 3 months later. Okay, there's one more thing. I'm now the War God of Jade Sky Dojo. I have the qualifications to explore the ancient god ruins, right?" "Of course you have the qualifications. However, the ancient god ruins are too dangerous. They are all disaster areas when meteor showers fall. The environment inside is very harsh. Moreover, there are only 2 ancient god ruins closest to our north. One is Chongbai Mountain, and the other is Wadalian Pond. If you really want to go, I suggest you go to Chongbai Mountain. It's best if you find a few companions. If you don't go too deep, you might have a chance to obtain 1 or 2 astral tools. What if I say I want to go to Wadalian Pond?" Lin Jin smiled and said, "What? Go to Wadalian Pond? Are you crazy? That place isn't fun at all. There are no astral tools there. Moreover, the mutated poisonous insects there are at least Birang. Going there is no different from seeking death. You should just give up on that idea." "Hee, I'm just joking with the dojo master. I know what I'm doing." "That's good. Don't be reckless. If something happens to you, there will be no one left in my Jade Sky dojo." "I understand. I have one more thing to ask of the dojo master. I've bought vitality potions for my parents so that they can start cultivating again. Please help me find 2 warrior rank instructors to supervise their training." "Vitality potion? You can even afford something like that. Brother, you're awesome." Yang Jianying gave Lin Jin a thumbs up. This was just a small matter. He even had no problem helping Lin Jin move. Yang Jianying also acted quickly. The next day, Lin Jin's family moved from the villa of the Strong Wind Dojo to the villa of the Jade Sky Dojo. This villa was the largest and best. Moreover, there was no one in the Jade Sky Dojo now. The surrounding villa area was deserted, as if it was Lin Jin's private territory. The 2 level 9 warriors sent by Yang Jianying arrived quickly. One was a man and the other was a woman. They would teach Lin Liye and Li Qin how to cultivate so that they could enter the warlord stage as soon as possible. Lin Zhen also gave a lot of money to send all kinds of training equipment and cultivation herbs. He tried his best not to let his parents' cultivation be delayed by these things. After arranging everything, Lin Zhen called a Ning. However, the person who answered the phone was a Ning's personal assistant. She said that a Ning had been arranged by her family to leave Bingqing 2 years ago. No one knew where she went. Lin Zhen also called Su Mingyue. Su Mingyue told Lin Zhen that Gongsun Du wanted to give her a secret special training so that she could compete in the God of War arena. She did not know how to do the special training. After exchanging a few words with Su Mingyue, Lin Zhen hung up the phone. With the special training of Gongsun Du, an expert in the meteor stage, Su Mingyue's improvement would definitely be rapid. In that case, Lin Zhen could not delay. Chapter 217. Wudalian Pond was located 1,000 miles north of Ice City. It was originally a group of volcanoes. 5 of the volcanoes were connected to each other, so it was called Wudalian Pond. When the Leonid meteor shower descended, Wudalian Pond was a disaster area. Countless meteors bombarded the landscape and created many unique climate features. This volcanic area had 2 volcanoes that would erupt all year round. The climate was also extremely bad. Storms raged and covered in thick smoke and volcanic ash, so no one dared to go near. Many creatures inside had mutated and formed a unique group. The creatures here were originally poisonous insects. These poisonous insects were used to the conditions here and didn't go outside. The creatures outside didn't want to come here either, so they didn't go out and didn't go in. That was how the ancient god ruins were formed. Very few people would come to Wudalian Pond because not only was the climate here bad, but there were no astral tools. The astral weapons were brought by meteors. Lin Zhen knew that it was a broken planet that brought many extraterrestrial items to Earth. However, in the Wudalian Pond area, not a single astral weapon was brought over. Therefore, no war gods would come here to look for trouble. There was once a war god team that didn't believe it and entered Wudalian Pond from the entrance. They went through 4 volcanoes in a row. Out of 10 war gods, only 1 came out alive. They didn't get anything. Wudalian Pond's bad name spread from then on. It was called the most useless ancient god ruins. But Lin Zhen knew one thing. In his previous life, not long before the fall of Bing City, the secret of Wudalian Pond was discovered. The Ministry of Science and Technology found out that the creatures in Wudalian Pond had a special characteristic. The crystals in their brains could be combined with another type of drug to produce powerful dark energy, which could replace dark energy stones for the god of war to use. If a war god wanted to level up, other than accumulating years of training, they had to absorb dark energy stones. Now, people had discovered the use of dark energy stones. Lin Zhen had bought a dozen of them using the convenience of buying meteorite. Now, they were all in the interspatial ring. However, it wasn't easy for him to buy more dark energy stones. The market price was sky-high, but the supply still couldn't meet the demand. As a result, the ancient god ruins of the 5 Dalian ponds instantly became a hot commodity. Countless war gods flocked here. Although they could not obtain astral tools here, they could obtain crystals that could catalyze dark energy and replace dark energy stones to cultivate. This was simply a holy land for leveling up. Moreover, people also found a special meteorite at the bottom of each of the 5 pools. These 5 meteorites were the true treasures of the 5 Dalian pools. The dozens of dark energy stones in Lin Zhen's hands were enough for him to advance to the 4th grade war god level, but it was still far from enough. That was why he had to come here. Before leaving, Lin Zhen bought a lot of potions and concocted them according to the memories of his previous life. He filled a few large buckets, then bid farewell to his parents and went to Wudalian Lake. The black specter descended from the clouds. There was no need to specifically search for it. Even from 100 miles away it could be seen. The volcanic ash that covered the sky did not disperse. From afar, it looked like an incomparably huge black mountain that connected the sky and the earth. The volcanic ash was also strange. It condensed here and did not disperse everywhere. The thick black color made it so that no creature was willing to go near it. We're here. This is the 5 Dalian Ponds. The volcanic ash is the natural barrier between the ancient god ruins and the outside world. No matter who wants to enter, they can only enter through the entrance of the first volcano. Otherwise, the thick volcanic ash would suffocate them to death. However, after entering, the volcanic ash would weaken a lot. At least, it would allow them to breathe. This is the magical part of the 5 Dalian Ponds. Lin Zhen's black specter drew a circle and arrived at the entrance of the 5 Dalian Ponds. When he arrived at the entrance, there was a monitoring station set up by the warrior union. Every ancient god ruins could not be entered casually. There must be a recommendation and a fee must be paid. For example, the Changbai Mountain ruins had more than 100 warrior union members stationed there to manage the entry and exit. But at the 5 Dalian Ponds there was only one person, and it was rotated every month. No one was willing to stay in this desolate place. Not to mention bird poop, there was not even a bird to be seen. It was almost as if no one had come here for years. So when Lin Zhen arrived, the warrior in charge was even sleeping in the small house and did not notice Lin Zhen's arrival. It was not until Lin Zhen knocked on the window that the warrior woke up in a daze. "What are you doing?" "I want to enter the 5 Dalian Ponds. Do I have to pay a fee?" "Oh, you want to go in?" "Yes, I want to go in." "Okay, prove it to me." This is the ancient god ruins. People who are not from the martial arts dojo or the military church are not allowed to enter. Lin Zhen gave him the martial arts dojo's certificate. He was now the Azure Sky War God. Although he was only ranked 10th in Ice City, he was still qualified to enter. "Okay, you pass. 1 million. Lin Zhen paid the 1 million entrance fee and then entered the 5 Dalian Ponds under the warrior's gaze. The entrance was located at the foot of the first mountain. There was a natural mountain tunnel here. On one side of the tunnel was the outside world, and on the other side was the forbidden area. Lin Zhen walked into the tunnel. Bursts of wind blew from the tunnel, bringing with it thick smoke and sparks. It was extremely suffocating. Lin Zhen directly activated his spiritual force shield and stared at the thick smoke and sparks as he advanced. After walking for about 20 minutes, his eyes lit up and he finally walked out of the mountain tunnel. "What kind of place is this?" Lin Zhen looked up and saw that the sky seemed to be covered by a black cover. Thick smoke up to 10 kilometers thick wrapped around the 5 Dalian Pond. It was like an independent world. In front of him was a group of volcanoes. The mountain on the far left was called the Burning Mountain. It was constantly spewing out flames and smoke. Even from afar, he could feel a heat wave blowing on his face. In the distance on the right, there was also a black dragon mountain. The amount of black smoke spewing out was no less than the Burning Mountain. There was a choking smell of sulfur in the air. After staying here for a while, he felt that his breathing was a little difficult. The place where he had passed through the tunnel was a rocky area. The ground was covered with bare brown rocks that were undulating. Some of them were like pillars, some were like houses, and some were like people. It was a mess. When he stepped on them, he could feel a slight heat. This place was called Dragon Gate Stone Stronghold. Lin Zhen walked forward. The first volcano where the 5 Dalian Ponds were located was about 20 kilometers away. Most of the environment in this area is very bad. Only the 5 volcanic lakes of the 5 Dalian Ponds are slightly better. Moreover, there are a lot of mutated poisonous insects here. It's just that the level of the mutated beasts here is very high. The lowest is B class. The highest mutated beasts I killed before were B class. I can't compete with A class at all. Now that I'm here, I have to be careful. There are even S-class mutated beasts here. Lin Zhen put on the cloud. The scorching temperature on the ground did not affect him. He began to walk forward. After walking for about 5 kilometers, he walked out of the rocky area and stepped on the soft soil. Just a few steps, Lin Jun suddenly felt that the ground was a little loose. There's a mutated poisonous insect. Just as Lin Jun had this thought, the ground suddenly broke open. A fiery red giant centipede bared its fangs and claws and bit at Lin Jun. Just the part of the centipede that was exposed above the ground was 5 meters long. It was even thicker than a gasoline barrel. Its huge fangs and claws were shining brightly. When it opened its bloody mouth, it was enough to swallow Lin Jun whole. A class mutated beast. Thanks to the cloud stepping shoes, he could fly without a shield. Lin Jun's body rose into the air. He narrowly dodged the centipede's fierce attack. The astral tool, Overlord's spear, appeared in his hand, and he ruthlessly stabbed at the centipede's head. Dang! The tip of the spear pierced the centipede's back. Sparks flew, and a shallow mark was drawn on the centipede's back. What a hard carapace! Although I didn't use all my strength, this is still an astral tool. I actually couldn't pierce through it. The centipede finally revealed its full appearance. Its body was about 12 to 13 meters long, and it had hundreds of legs. When it came out, it stirred up sand and stones. With a wave of its tail, a large amount of sand and stones came flying at Lin Jun. Lin Jun hurriedly activated his protective barrier. These sand and stones were like bullets bombarding the barrier. Pring 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 sounds rang out, and it made Lin Jun's mental power tremble for a while. Soon after, a second wave of sand and stones came flying at him. Lin Jun stepped on the cloud and rose up again. His body was more than 30 meters in the air. Bastard, I'm so high up in the air. Can you still hit me? Unexpectedly, the centipede's body suddenly arched and shot up. It actually shot up dozens of meters and pounced at Lin Jun again. You're quite difficult to deal with. However, I already know your tricks. You can't threaten me. Just as the centipede saw Lin Jun suddenly disappeared. The next moment, he appeared at the centipede's abdomen. The Overlord's spear in his hand fiercely pierced out. Pooh! The centipede's abdomen didn't have such thick armor. Lin Jun's spear pierced through. Green blood gushed out. Lin Jun teleported again and arrived at the centipede's neck where it couldn't attack. Golden chi shrouded the tip of the spear, causing the Overlord's spear to instantly reach the strength of a middle-grade astral tool. Once again, he fiercely pierced down. The centipede let out a beast-like hiss. Its body landed on the ground, and its front claws quickly dug through the sand and stones. It actually wanted to escape underground. If I can let you escape, then I don't need to continue staying here. Stay here for me. Lin Jun once again teleported to the centipede's abdomen. Lowering his spear, he fiercely pierced through the wound with both hands. The centipede's abdomen was split open by Lin Jun's spear. The wound was more than 5 meters long. Huahua's green blood flowed out from the abdomen. At this time, Lin Jun finally saw what was called a centipede that didn't fall down even when it was dead. The centipede's eyes were dying. It was actually still wriggling into the sand and stones. Lin Jun was helpless. He simply grabbed the centipede's hind legs and used a lot of strength to pull this dying A-grade poisonous insect out of the sand. Announcement: App for Android, Apple's exclusive version. Farewell to all advertisements. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install. Chapter 218. After killing the mutated centipede, Lin Jun didn't need to rest. The light energy in his body quickly recovered his Dantian chi and mental power. He picked up his spear and stabbed the twitching centipede a few more times, killing it completely. Luckily, I have the mental teleportation skill. Otherwise, this centipede wouldn't have been easy to deal with. As long as I lure the poisonous insects into the air, I can easily find their weakness. Lin Jun's spear jumped off the centipede's head and took out the crystal inside. No matter how disgusting the poisonous insects were, the crystal was still beautiful. Lin Jun put away the fiery red crystal. The dark energy stone can be used by any level of war god. Therefore, I have to keep my dark energy stone. I will use the poisonous insect crystal to level up during this period of time. Beginner level war god. The crystal of a rank B mutated beast should be enough. This centipede is rank A. I will keep it until I become an intermediate level war god. Just as Lin Zhen was about to move forward, a few poisonous insects appeared in the distance. There was a small centipede, a swimming snake, and even a red toad the size of a tank. They are here. These rank B poisonous insects want to eat the centipede's corpse, but they are here to give me the crystal. Lin Zhen became a war god. Dealing with rank B mutated beasts was no longer a problem. He immediately took out his spear and faced the insects. What? You said Lin Zhen joined Azure Sky and signed up for the Divinity General Challenge? Tong Yuehu looked at the information in front of him and said in an unfriendly tone. Yes, Dojo Master. We have neglected Azure Sky. We have contacted the other dojos, including Eternal Wind and Tu Long, and they have agreed not to accept Lin Zhen. We thought that Azure Sky Dojo was already struggling at death's door, and they also have a grudge against Lin Zhen, so we didn't lower ourselves to find them. Enough. This is carelessness. Dojo Master Yu's order was very clear. He wants Lin Zhen to stay in Bing City and not do anything. However, he still found the dojo. This is our negligence. In front of Tong Yuehu stood two war gods. They were both around 30 years old and were elders of the Zephyr sect. One was a 7th grade war god, while the other was an 8th grade war god. The 8th grade war god's name was Ma Yao, and the 7th grade war god's name was Wei Li. They were the two main forces of Bingqing City that were participating in the war god arena. Even Tong Yuehu had signed up. He was now a 9th grade war god, and he wanted to get a good result in the war god arena. Ma Yao opened his mouth and said, Hall Master, there shouldn't be any problems. Although Lin Zhen has registered, he is only a 3rd grade war god. He won't be able to do much in the war god arena. He probably won't even pass the preliminaries and will be eliminated. Wei Li also nodded. It's best if we don't meet him. Otherwise, we'll personally eliminate him and avenge the Hall Master's nephew. Tong Yuehu's son, Shentu Hua, had lost face in the stellar fruit tree. His actions of robbing and assaulting a little girl were looked down upon by others. When Shentu Hua returned to Bingqing City, he was immediately expelled from the martial dojo by Dongfang Jun. Tong Yuehu didn't give up on his nephew. He hadn't spent any resources for the past few years. 2 months ago, he finally helped Shentu Hua advance to the war god realm. However, there was no need to think about compressing his dantian. He could only be considered a fake war god. Just a few days ago, after Tong Yuehu assumed the position of Hall Master and held great authority, he actually summoned Shentu Hua back to Zephyr sect after being expelled for 3 years. Furthermore, he registered him for the war god arena. This matter caused many people to be dissatisfied, but they were all suppressed by Shentu Hua. When Ma Yao and Wei Li mentioned Shentu Hua's matter, Tong Yuehu waved his hand and said, Don't make this matter public. However, let our people remember this. Once they meet Lin Zhen, they should immediately take action. They must eliminate him. Dojo Master, don't worry. Although the virtual map is very large, the further you go, the smaller it gets. Our dojo has 40 to 50 war gods participating, so there will definitely be people who will have the chance to meet Lin Zhen. We can't be careless. Although Lin Zhen is a beginner-level war god, his Dantian's chi is compressed to a very high level. Normal intermediate-level war gods might not be his match. I have a feeling that letting Lin Zhen participate in the Divine General Arena isn't a good thing. We have to stop him. After saying a few words, Tong Yuehu turned around and asked Ma Yao, Have you been monitoring Lin Zhen for the past few days? Yes, we've already received news that this kid is currently at Wadalian Lake. Went to Wadalian Lake? Why are we going there? Tong Yuehu was stunned for a moment before he suddenly realized that this was an opportunity. Ma Yao and Wei Li looked at each other and understood what Tong Yuehu was thinking. Ma Yao said, "Dojo Master, should we go and get rid of him right now?" "No, you definitely can't. Lin Zhen's relationship with us has gotten so big that countless pairs of eyes are watching. A lot of dojos are going against us, like Chang Feng, and Corporation, etc. We can't leave any evidence behind. If we want to get rid of Lin Zhen, we definitely can't use people from Bingqing. That will leave behind clues. If we want to make a move, we have to find someone unrelated to us." "Who's someone unrelated to us?" Ma Yao asked. "Of course it's a foreigner. Now that the internet is widespread, the roads between the headquarter cities can be restored. If a foreigner comes to Wadalian Lake and happens to get rid of Lin Zhen, then we won't have anything to do with it. Dojo Master is wise. This is easy to do. There are a lot of bounty hunters on the internet right now. You can even hire a quasi-star realm fighter, but you need to make an appointment. To deal with Lin Zhen, an advanced war god is enough. I'll do it right now." "Okay, don't be afraid of spending money. Remember not to leak any information. If you can't hire a quasi-star realm fighter, then hire an advanced war god. We definitely can't let Lin Zhen leave Wadalian Lake alive." Pu. After stabbing a few times, Lin Zhen finally killed the last mutated toad. After taking out 3 grade B crystals, Lin Zhen stopped at the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold and started to test the medicine. In his previous life, Lin Zhen knew the formula for this test and prepared the medicine a long time ago. He took out a small test tube and first put the snake crystal inside. After putting in the medicine, the crystal shook and then started to dissolve into the medicine. After around 20 minutes, the energy inside the crystal started to evaporate completely. Bits of energy started to leak out of the test tube. Success. It is indeed effective. Although this thing's performance is not as good as the dark energy stone, it's not much different. Let me try absorbing it. Lin Zhen covered the test tube with one hand and the energy started to enter his body. After around 2 minutes, there was nothing left in the test tube. Lin Zhen opened his eyes and nodded slightly. "Not bad. It helped me take a small step forward from the late stage of rank 3. If I absorb these 2 more crystals, I will be able to reach the peak of rank 3. Lin Zhen followed the same pattern and absorbed the remaining 2 crystals. Finally, his Dantian reached the peak of the 3rd grade War God realm. This place is indeed a treasure trove. Every mutated beast is a treasure. I just need to keep moving forward. I estimate that when I reach the first volcanic lake of Wadalian Lake, I will be able to advance to rank 4 War God. If I want to make a difference in the Divine General Arena, I need to be at least a rank 5 War God. I still have 3 months, let's see what level I can reach." Lin Zhen walked out of the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold and headed straight for the 5 volcanic lakes of Wadalian Lake. In his previous life, the special meteorites in the 5 volcanic lakes were all taken away by the extraterrestrial civilization. Lin Zhen could still remember that the special meteorite in the first volcanic lake was a psychic meteorite. This meteorite could stimulate the growth of psychic energy. Lin Zhen's current psychic energy was at the early stage of dark gold. It was considered very high among the beginner war gods, but it was not at the peak among the intermediate war gods. This was because Lin Zhen's accumulation during the warlord stage was too strong. He directly skipped the rank of rank 1 or 2 war god and entered the late stage of rank 3. Compared to the current war gods who were in their 30s or even 40s, Lin Zhen was still too young. Without fortuitous encounters, the growth of psychic energy would take a long time. Therefore, Lin Zhen's outstanding psychic energy during the warlord stage did not have much of an advantage among the war gods. He could also patiently cultivate his psychic energy slowly. However, he was about to participate in the Divine General Arena, so it was too late for him to cultivate slowly. He was determined to obtain the psychic meteorite in Lotus Lake. Along the way, Lin Zhen walked and stopped. Sometimes, he would be surrounded by a large group of rank B poisonous insects. Other times, he would be attacked by a few rank A poisonous insects. Under these circumstances, even Lin Jun had no choice but to retreat temporarily. However, his rank was also constantly improving during these battles. After 7 days in Wadalian Lake, Lin Jun did not advance at all. He was still near the Dragon Gate Stone stronghold. However, on the 7th day, he finally made a breakthrough. The Dantian Qi within his body began to surge. The boundary of the Dantian Qi that had been restricting Lin Jun for a few days began to expand. The dark star within his body began to revolve. Strands of energy were injected into it, causing its volume to increase. This volume could not be compared to the volume of the real world. A warrior's Dantian was another world. After condensing a star nucleus, the star nucleus in the warrior's Dantian world could evolve into the size of a star. As for Lin Jun's dark star, it already had the appearance of a star nucleus. It contained many types of energy and was Lin Jun's battle engine. The Dantian Qi revolved rapidly. Following a muffled rumbling sound, like a shock wave from an explosion, Lin Jun's Dantian began to expand once again. A layer of the armband that was restricting Lin Jun's advancement was broken by this wave of energy. This made Lin Jun feel that the sky in front of him was vast. Success! I finally succeeded in advancing. In 7 days, I advanced to the 4th grade War God stage. From now on, I am an intermediate War God. I don't have any use for those rank B poisonous insect crystals. To advance from the intermediate level to the advanced level, I need at least a rank A poisonous insect crystal. I don't need to continue fighting these insects at the border anymore. Let's head to the Lotus Lake now. Lin Jun adjusted his breathing and stood up. He currently had more than 10 rank A poisonous insect crystals, but he didn't absorb them immediately. He had just advanced, so he still needed some time to settle down. The most important thing was to get his hands on the meteorite. Chapter 219. The guard at the entrance of Wadalian Pond was counting on his fingers as he waited for his replacement to arrive. A month had passed, but there was still no sign of his replacement. Could it be that he wasn't coming today? When I go back, I will definitely complain about him being absent from work. He actually made me stay in this damned place for 1 more day. Just as he was muttering, his eyes suddenly fell on something in front of him. After a white triangular aircraft landed, 2 Westerners walked out from it. It was a man and a woman. The man was tall and sturdy, and the woman was beautiful and charming with a hot body. The guard couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. This girl is hot. Looking at her really makes one's heart beat. The guard licked his lips. The 2 of them were wearing tight leather clothes as they walked towards the entrance. After the internet was restored a few years ago, every school started to learn different languages. Among them, Huaxia was the most widely used language. Basically, people from every country knew it. The people from Huaxia also knew other languages, so they had no problem communicating with each other. Especially for these warriors, after their brain was developed, learning languages was a piece of cake. When the man and woman reached here, the man first said to the guard, "I need to enter Wadalian Pond." "Oh sure. The ancient god's ruins are also open to foreigners. However, very few people come here. Please show your identification first." "My name is Hansen. I come from the European Union's Madrid headquarters city. This is my companion, but she won't be going in this time." Hansen handed over a piece of identification to prove his identity. He was a member of the Madrid headquarters city's sacred dojo, a level 7 war god. "Welcome friends from the European Union. But how did you cross the Eurasian continent to come here?" the guard asked out of vigilance. At this time, the Western girl came over. She swung her long golden hair, and a delicate fragrance floated over. "Is this a question that must be answered?" "Oh, that's fine. It's not a must." The guard's eyes were a little straight. This girl had ocean-like blue eyes, long golden hair, fair skin, well-defined facial features, and a very beautiful figure. When she blinked her big eyes, the guard felt a little dizzy. Since it's not a must, then we refuse to answer, the girl said. The guard couldn't help but nod his head. He was a little captivated by this Western beauty. Then, Hansen, go ahead. How long will it take? It shouldn't take too long, but I heard that this place isn't small. It might take about half a month. It shouldn't take more than a month. You go back first. I'll call you when I come out. Remember to be careful. This mission is worth 3 billion. We can only succeed and not fail. If we fail, we will have to pay 5 times the compensation to the other party. Moreover, the young miss is now competing with AI Air. We have to work hard to accept this mission behind the young miss back. No problem. This mission is as simple as eating and drinking for me. I guarantee that I will contribute to Mrs. Unified Organization. Hansen spread his hands, indicating that he was very relaxed. Okay, bye-bye then. I'll go back now. Remember not to delay your participation in the War God arena. Bye-bye. Don't worry, Alice. I will definitely get a good ranking in the War God arena. Hansen patted his chest and promised the girl named Alice. Alice smiled and blew a kiss to the guard. Thank you, handsome Eastern guy. Good luck. Ah, good luck. The guard stared blankly at the girl as she left. That flirtatious waist and slightly swaying but made him a little absent-minded. Even after the girl boarded the aircraft and left, the guard still hadn't come back to his senses. At this moment, Hansen patted him on the shoulder. Hey, brother, don't lose your soul to her. She is a rose with thorns. Anyone who dares to touch her will definitely be stung black and blue. Don't blame me for not reminding you. What does a foreigner like you know? I didn't mean that. Hurry up and go in. Oh right, pay 1 million. Hansen shrugged and swiped 1 million from the guard's card. Although the currencies of both parties weren't of equal value, one could pay according to the ratio here. 1 million Chinese yuan was about 700,000 euros. This Hansen whistled as he walked towards the mountain tunnel. As he walked, he said, 1 million. I only need 1 million to earn 3 billion. It's so easy to earn money from Chinese people. Alice actually doesn't trust me. She really underestimates me, Hansen. Seeing Hansen's figure disappear, the guard muttered, Is this foreigner crazy? How can there be a 3 billion deal here? There is only a beginner-level war god inside. Do you think you can get 3 billion just by killing him? What nonsense. After a while, his replacement came. This guard was going back to the headquarters city to enjoy his life. He wouldn't be able to come back for a few more months. When he left, he was still thinking about the Western girl. He thought that she was really a sexy beauty. If she could give him a good time, he would die from happiness just thinking about it. A piece of volcanic rock was stepped down by Linjun. The rock at the top of the volcano wasn't as hard as he thought. However, he didn't pay attention to the falling rock at all. His gaze landed on the lake in front of him. Although the sky was filled with black smoke, the lake didn't look dirty. The black smoke didn't fall down. The entire lake was only about 3 to 4 kilometers in diameter. There wasn't a single wave. From afar, it looked like a huge sapphire. There was a bit of green on the lake. Those were lotus leaves. The lotus leaves here were incomparably huge. Each lotus leaf was like an open parachute. They were scattered all over the lake. The blue and green colors were quite close. If one didn't look carefully, it wouldn't be easy to notice. I'm finally here. I've finally arrived at the first volcanic lake. This is the Lotus Lake where the Spirit Meteorite is. It's said that the Spirit Meteorite is at the bottom of the lake. However, I can imagine that the bottom of the lake won't be as calm as the surface. There might be some mutated poisonous insects waiting for me inside. I need to be careful. Lin Zhen rose into the air from the lakeside and began to dive into the lake. At first, he flew at a height of 30 meters above the lake's surface. He didn't discover anything. Lin Zhen's courage gradually grew. He descended to a height of 20 meters. Still, he didn't discover anything. It can't be. Could it be that there aren't any mutated poisonous insects in this lake? If that's the case, wouldn't I be able to get the spirit meteorite today? Lin Zhen descended again. 10 meters. It was still calm. 5 meters. There was still no movement. Seems like there really isn't anything. Then I'll land. First, I'll find a lotus leaf to land on. Lin Zhen chose a lotus leaf and landed on it. However, just as he landed, something strange happened. The surrounding water pillars suddenly shot up into the sky, and the lotus leaves flipped over. Countless huge leeches rushed out like flood dragons, intertwining in the air. Their twisting bodies and wriggling suckers were enough to make one shudder. Not good. There are actually these things hiding under the lotus leaf. Every leech is an A-grade mutated poisonous insect. I have to leave quickly. Lin Zhen teleported 40 meters up. However, he still hadn't left the leech's attack range. A leech flashed past him, and a huge sucker grabbed at Lin Zhen's body. Pung! The sucker produced a strong suction force. It was just like Lin Zhen's gravity. Even though he was 5 meters away, Lin Zhen was pulled into the sucker. Oh no! I was careless. These leech's suckers can produce a suction force. Lin Zhen felt his body go numb. These leech's suckers contained poison. One by one, small needle-like thorns pierced into Lin Zhen's skin and began to suck his blood. Lin Zhen felt a sharp pain. However, he couldn't teleport because of the suckers. Moreover, against these mollusks, the spear was not very useful. He immediately put the Overlord's spear into his spatial ring. The liquid metal at his waist turned into a long knife. He twisted his body and slashed at the sucker. Pooh! The leech's defense was not strong. With one slash, the huge sucker was cut off. However, before Lin Zhen could get rid of the sucker, another strong suction force came. In an instant, Lin Zhen's height was pulled down by 5 meters. He was once again trapped by another leech's sucker. This time, it was his legs that were trapped. Just as the blood-sucking thorns were about to pierce into his legs, Lin Zhen swung his long knife again and cut off the sucker. He was fast, but the leeches were not slow either. Moreover, each leech had hundreds of suckers on its abdomen. As soon as Lin Zhen cut off one, the second one immediately enveloped him. As the leech's body fell, Lin Zhen cut off the fourth sucker and plunged into the water along with the leech. Oh no, if I'm dragged to the bottom by these things, I'm afraid I won't even need to fight. Just the blood-sucking poison will be enough to kill me. I have to leave quickly. Lin Zhen could not care less about the poison that had begun to spread through his body. Since the leech's defense was not strong, his liquid metal transformed into 2 long knives. He began to brandish them with both hands, instantly cutting the suckers that were wrapped around him into pieces. Seeing that there were more suckers coming, Lin Zhen simply raised his hand. Lightning photon. A strong electric current bloomed on Lin Zhen's liquid metal long knife. In the conductive part of the water, it instantly attacked a large group of leeches. About a dozen leeches twitched violently. Lin Zhen took this opportunity to suddenly soar into the sky and broke through the water surface. Then, he teleported up 30 meters and quickly turned around. The long knives in his hands slashed like a storm, cutting a leech that was chasing him into pieces. After teleporting again, Lin Zhen had risen to a height of 70 meters and finally escaped the leech's pursuit. Waves of numbness spread through his body. Lin Zhen did not dare to stay. He ran straight to a hidden spot by the lake. He staggered there and quickly swallowed the antidote that he had prepared. Chapter 220. As the effects of the medicine began to take effect, the feeling of being poisoned slowly receded. However, Lin Zhen didn't plan to enter the Lotus Lake again. The current Lotus Lake was still too difficult for him. He needed to stay here for a period of time to stabilize his intermediate war god level and kill as many A-rank mutated beasts as he could. He would only return to the Lotus Lake after he stabilized his strength. After all, he had just broken through to the 4th grade War God level and his level wasn't stable yet. This time, he was advancing a bit too rashly. In the following period of time, Lin Jun didn't go anywhere else. He rested by the lakeside and used 3 days to stabilize his level. Then, he started to absorb the A-rank mutated poisonous insect crystals in his hand. These dozens of crystals helped Lin Jun to raise his cultivation level to the early stage of level 4. After absorbing the crystals, Lin Jun wasn't in a hurry to return to the Lotus Lake. Instead, he wandered around the area and started to kill A-rank mutated poisonous insects to obtain crystals. He could fly and teleport. As long as he didn't recklessly charge into a group of A-rank poisonous insects, he wouldn't encounter any danger. Just like that, more than 20 days passed. Lin Jun had hunted and killed hundreds of A-class poisonous insects. After absorbing the crystals one by one, his realm began to advance by leaps and bounds. After 28 days, Lin Jun finally made another breakthrough and reached the intermediate 4th grade War God level. Phew! It's about time, intermediate 4th grade. Now that my speed and strength have made another breakthrough, my mental power and Dantian energy have increased, it should be much easier to deal with those leeches. Also, I have thought of a way to enter the bottom of the Lotus Lake. It's time to give it a try. Lin Jun prepared himself and wanted to enter the Lotus Lake again. However, just as he was about to move, he saw a person flying towards him from the top of the mountain. Spirit Reader. Lin Jun squinted his eyes. This wasn't the Divine General Training Camp. There weren't that many Spirit Readers. According to Lin Jun's estimation, there shouldn't be any war gods wandering around the 5 Dalian Lake. After all, at this time, the secret of the poisonous insect crystals hadn't been discovered by the outside world. However, a spirit reader appeared in this place. Lin Jun couldn't help but be vigilant. He might be coming for him. Lin Jun discovered him. The spirit reader also discovered Lin Jun. He immediately increased his speed and flew towards Lin Jun. Since he had been discovered, Lin Jun had no need to hide. He held the Overlord's spear in his hand and waited for the opponent. The opponent's speed was very fast. After a short while, the distance between him and Lin Jun to within 100 meters. They could see each other's faces. Westerner. Lin Jun was stunned. He didn't expect the Western god of war to appear here. The Westerner quickly arrived in front of Lin Jun. He put away the shield with a cross at his feet. He sized up Lin Jun for a while, then picked up his phone and looked at it. He then laughed, "Haha, you are Lin Jun. I didn't expect to find you so quickly. If I knew things would go so smoothly, I wouldn't have let Alice leave. I would have asked her to wait for me." "Who are you?" Lin Jun asked. "I am Hansen from Madrid Bay City." Lin Jun, you must remember this name because it was this person who sent you back to the embrace of the starry sky true god. Lin Jun also sized up Hansen. Lin Jun's height was close to 1.9 meters, but he was still a bit shorter than this person. This person's height was over 1.9 meters, and he was quite tall and sturdy. He was a 7th level war god. Lin Jun had some understanding of the enemy's strength. This Hansen gave him a dangerous feeling. "Lin Jun, you are really young. You are a 4th level war god at such a young age. I can't help but say that you are a genius." A genius that is about to fall," Hansen said as he took out a sword. It was a Western sword with a guard. The sword had a blue radiance on it. It was a middle-level astral tool. "Is that so?" "I don't think so. No matter who sent you here, you have done something stupid today." Lin Jun shook his Overlord's spear. He was not afraid of his opponent at all. He had already advanced to an intermediate-level war god. It wasn't impossible for him to challenge someone 3 levels above him. He wanted to give it a try. What a naive little guy. You don't know how powerful a 7th level war god who has compressed 8 levels of Dantian energy is. That is a true god. Before his voice faded away, Hansen suddenly burst forth. The western sword in his hand turned into a poisonous snake in the blink of an eye. It enveloped Lin Zhen's vital points in an instant. His attack stirred up strong winds and was as fast as lightning. Lin Zhen immediately focused and prepared to defend himself. However, Lin Zhen didn't care too much about it. This kind of powerful attack was completely within his range of defense. It seemed like he had overestimated this foreigner. However, before the tip of the sword arrived, the first thing that arrived was a mental attack. Bang! Lin Zhen couldn't help but raise his head. This mental attack made him feel dizzy. His opponent's mental strength was not below his own. On the other hand, Hansen didn't seem to be affected. The sword in his hand didn't slow down. Lin Zhen didn't have enough time to defend himself. He could only place the liquid metal in front of him. Pu. After a few sword flowers, Lin Zhen was hit 3 times. Fortunately, the liquid metal intercepted Lin Zhen and prevented him from getting injured. What a lucky guy. I was careless this time. Although I hit you many times, none of them were fatal. Next time, I will pierce your chest with my sword. Seeing the slight change in his opponent's pupils, Lin Zhen immediately teleported away without hesitation. He teleported a few dozen meters away, causing his opponent's mental attack to miss. Just like the information stated, you have the ability to teleport unpredictably. However, this is useless. Next time, I will interrupt your teleportation. Hansen pounced over. Lin Zhen's teleportation was interrupted by his mental attack. Lin Zhen was hit by the mental attack. He blocked it a few times and was almost injured. However, Hansen was still safe and sound. How is this possible? How can this guy not be affected by the mental attack's backlash? If he keeps using his mental attack like this, I will not be able to resist him unless my mental power is higher than his. This person is also at the early stage of dark gold, just like me. As if he saw Lin Zhen's doubts, Hansen said with confidence, Lin Zhen, you may have a lot of tricks up your sleeves. Unfortunately, you can't use them in front of me because you can't break my mental attack. Just wait for your defeat. Lin Zhen carefully looked at Hansen at this time. He finally found a clue. Hansen was wearing a necklace around his neck. Moreover, it was not an ordinary necklace. It was actually a low-grade astral tool. A low-grade astral tool with mental defense. Not only could it resist the opponent's mental attack, it could also effectively prevent the backlash. If Lin Zhen was not experienced and knowledgeable, he would not have discovered Hansen's secret. So that's how it is. With this mental defense astral tool, Hansen is almost invincible against people whose mental power is not as good as his. Even if I have a lot of tricks up my sleeves, it's useless if I can't resist the mental attack. He has a defensive astral tool, so the backlash is very small. However, I have to endure the mental attack again and again. This kind of battle is too unfair. Lin Zhen made a prompt decision. Since he could not fight with force, he had to use his brain. He suddenly rose into the sky. Come on, Hansen. Let's fight in the sky. Let's see if I will be afraid of your mental attack. Haha, good. No matter where you go, you can't escape. Also, your shoes are not bad. They are mine. Hansen also stepped on his shield and rose into the sky, attacking Lin Zhen. Just as Hansen was about to use his mental attack, Lin Zhen suddenly opened his hand. Thousands of rays of light lit up in his palm, causing Hansen to instinctively cover his eyes. Kill. Lin Zhen suddenly teleported in front of Hansen, and the long spear in his hand shot out like a storm. Hansen lost the initiative and hurriedly blocked. He originally did not put Lin Zhen in his eyes, but after a real fight, he immediately knew how terrifying Lin Zhen was. The long spear was like a rolling river, and the attacks seemed to be endless. He had to do his best to block every time, but he could never see the end. The spear light was surrounded by electric light and golden chi. The two people fought for less than a minute, and Hansen was shot twice. Blood flowed from his shoulder and thigh. Damn it, this Eastern brat is so strong. If I didn't have a mental defense astral tool, I might have died here today. Lin Jun. Enough. Boom. Lin Jun's spear pierced Hansen's abdomen, but a layer of astral tool armor appeared on the surface of his body. It was a mid-grade astral tool, and it actually blocked Lin Jun's fatal spear. Hansen's body flew back dozens of meters, and the corner of his mouth was shaken by the impact. However, he quickly rushed back. Lin Jun, I was careless just now. This time, I won't give you any chance. Die under my mental attack. Seeing Hansen's desperate posture, Lin Jun secretly regretted in his heart. He did not expect the opponent to have an astral tool armor. Otherwise, the wave of attacks just now would have taken him down. The opponent had 3 astral tools for protection, especially one with a mental defense. Lin Jun admitted that he could not do anything to him for the time being. At this point, he could only use the last resort. Lin Jun's body swayed and he quickly fell. Below was Lotus Lake. There was still some distance between the two people. Lin Jun flew in an arc and quickly approached the surface of Lotus Lake. Hansen was originally chasing closely, but when Lin Jun approached the surface of the lake, countless huge leeches soared into the sky and instantly surrounded Lin Jun. Hansen hurriedly stopped and almost rushed into the leech's attack range. Lin Jun, you are courting death. I will not die with you, Hansen shouted from the shore. At this moment, Lin Jun had already entered the water. After quickly cutting off a piece of suction cup, the liquid metal turned into a huge eggshell, wrapped Lin Jun in it, and began to sink into the lake.